This boy suddenly gets teleported straight to the entrance ceremony of a magic academy, where the strongest students from different worlds have gathered. None of them look even remotely human. Every single one has insane powers and unique abilities. And they all share one thing in common: they absolutely despise humans. So of course, the moment Ban Yuan shows up, one of the tough guys immediately tells him to get to the very back of the hall, where all the weak losers belong. And Ban Yuan, he just calmly walks there. But when he reaches the back, something feels off. There are only 3 people sitting there, and their presence is completely different. The yellow-haired guy, way stronger than all those aliens up front. The white-haired girl, even stronger. And the shy pink-haired girl, turns out she's the strongest of them all. But even then, none of them come close to Ban Yuan. Because right after the ceremony, it's time for sparring. His opponent is a massive rock monster named Erecto. Compared to him, Ban Yuan looks like an insect. Everyone's already convinced. It's over. He's getting crushed in seconds. Erecto thinks the same. The match starts, and Erecto immediately goes in for a killing blow. But Ban Yuan reads him like an open book and casually dodges. Then, without hesitation, he strikes. A clean, brutal hit straight to the face. The impact is so strong, Erecto just collapses on the spot. Somehow, he manages to stand back up, completely confused, until his face starts crumbling. That's when it clicks. Ban Yuan infused his sword with wave energy before the strike, and now it's tearing apart Erecto's stone body from the inside. Enraged, Erecto charges again, trying to grab him, but he can't even touch him. He just can't understand how a pathetic human is doing this. And what pisses him off even more? Ban Yuan is clearly looking down on him. Erecto goes all in again. Same reckless attack, same result. This time Ban Yuan counters and slices off his arm in one clean strike. Erecto screams as the entire arena goes silent. The other students are in shock. How is a human dominating like this? Even the referee can't believe the power he's seeing. So he quickly steps in and ends the match, declaring Erecto unable to continue. Ban Yuan calmly puts his sword away and turns to leave. But Erecto stands back up. Blinded by rage and humiliation, he launches one last desperate attack. The referee barely manages to shout a warning, but Ban Yuan doesn't even try to dodge. Instead, he channels his power again, and with one precise strike, he completely severs the stone bastard's arm. This time, Erecto doesn't get back up. The entire arena is stunned. Now even the referee is confused. What the hell just happened? And why didn't Ban Yuan dodge? Looks like he's going to have to explain all of this to the principal. So who is Ban Yuan? And why is he so much stronger than everyone else? It all starts on a completely normal day. He's just an ordinary boy with a talent for languages, checking his university admission results on his laptop. But instead of an acceptance letter, strange, unreadable symbols fill the screen. Before he can even process it, a flash of light blinds him, and he vanished before his mother could see him. She was left wondering where he had gone. Suddenly, he found himself falling into a dark tunnel, and another system popped up, announcing that a special practical evaluation for candidates from lower dimensions had begun. Ban Yuan was utterly confused, wondering if he had entered some sort of game. Meanwhile, the system instructed him to defeat a blind goblin and destroy the dungeon core. All he could do was scream in frustration for getting dragged into a mess he never signed up for. He wanted to know what in the hell this practical evaluation and all this special exam nonsense even meant. Right at that moment, he hears the threatening sounds of footsteps, and Ban Yuan literally starts sweating bullets when he sees these disgusting, ugly creatures with clubs in hand. It seems these creatures can't actually see him, but they can hear him clearly. The 2 goblins are talking in their own language, but surprisingly, our boy can understand them perfectly. He's not thrilled to hear them referring to him as prey. He starts piecing things together about what the system notification said regarding the practical evaluation, blind goblins, and the dungeon core. He thinks to himself that he really has to defeat these creatures to get out of here because this whole setup feels like something straight out of a game or a novel. The goblins are trying to detect him, while Ban Yuan is literally crying over his rotten luck, wondering how he's supposed to defeat these creatures when he hasn't even killed a rat in his life, let alone something dangerous. One of the goblins finally swings its club, and it lands just a few centimeters away from his crotch, almost hitting him right between the legs. He's literally only a centimeter away from getting castrated. The goblin swings its club again, but this time Ban Yuan dodges out of the way, and he tries to remain calm to not draw their attention. However, it looks like his presence has already been exposed to these relentless goblins, and they attempt to smash him once more. Ban jumps away just in time, narrowly saving himself. The 2 goblins then converse about the exact location of the sound. This makes our boy realize that even though these creatures are blind, they are sensitive to sounds and movements as well. It seems they hunt by cornering their prey while talking to each other. He's sure that no matter how well he hides, he's eventually going to get caught. Ban Yuan finally comes up with a clever idea and throws a pebble in another direction. The monsters quickly charge toward the source of the sound without a shred of hesitation, but all they find are 2 pebbles. That's when Ban takes advantage of the distraction and hits one of the goblins down with a giant rock. Confused, the 2 goblins begin to attack each other, thinking they're fighting their enemy. They beat the living daylights out of one another, fighting until the very end, and eventually, they both go down for the count after smashing each other's heads. Ban nearly shits his pants at the sight of this brutal mess. As he huffs profusely, he notices the club the creatures were using lying nearby. He grabs the club, apologizes to the two green bastards for what he's about to do, and finally brings it down on their heads to make sure they're really out for the count. Just as the goblins lie dead, a bright light shimmers around them, and a system notification pops up, congratulating Ban on his first successful hunt in the dungeon. As a reward, he is granted the power of the higher dimensions. A strange enchantment begins to swirl around his hand, and his system shows that the power of the Babylonian code has been unlocked. The system reveals that this power will be displayed using ideograms, a language familiar to the holder. If you don't know about ideograms, these are characters that convey meaning through their form, representing concepts or things. The system notification tells him that Chinese characters have registered. Unlike phonetic characters that represent sounds, these characters convey meaning directly through their shapes. From the two goblins, the common concepts of demon and life were extracted from their flesh, along with other concepts too complex or insignificant for the holder's current level to absorb. This shocks Ban Yuan even more because, as far as he can understand, his ability is not just about language, he can literally extract concepts from things. The system then indicates that he is about to absorb 0.2 demons, and demons are inherently a concept that humans cannot possess. It is recommended to store or separate this in the Babylonian code and apply it to other objects. He then decides to try absorbing another concept, and grabs the hovering symbol from the air and places it on his chest. The system promptly reveals that he has absorbed 0.4 life, increasing his life to 10.4 and enhancing his abilities and potential. He then absorbs 0.2 flesh as well, which raises his fleshiness to 10.2 and makes his body healthier. He then twiddles his fingers and notices that not only is he feeling better overall, but his grip strength, leg strength, and everything else has significantly improved. Basically, he had absorbed these two goblins' abilities, and once their powers were transferred to him, their bodies disappeared. All that was left were two clubs. If applying concepts works on him, Ban Yuan figures it should work on objects too. So he grabs one of the concepts and applies it to one of the clubs. That's how all the blind goblins you see are dead. He then finally destroys a strange orb-like object, known as the dungeon core, and the system window promptly congratulates him for passing the practical test of the lower dimension special examination. Ban Yuan lets out a huge sigh of relief, wondering if this means he can finally go home. But to his dismay, the system informs him that he will be transferred to the dormitory. The place he was sent to wasn't home. It was a world he had never seen before, a place called Union Academy. As he lands on the ground, another system window congratulates him on passing the practical exam and becoming a provisional student. The system then informs him to wear the assigned uniform properly and attend the interview, making sure to wear the Union Academy uniform with pride. Of course, Ban Yuan is cursing his rotten luck once again. He had finally been accepted into one of the universities back home, but now he's stuck wearing a school uniform all over again. Not that he has any options. Begrudgingly, he quickly puts on the uniform and strides out, ready to give these people a piece of his mind. At the very least, he's thinking of demanding compensation for the transportation mess they put him through. But all of his frustration vanishes when he spots an absolute beauty in glasses sitting at the reception counter. Ban Yuan hesitates to approach her, wondering if she might be an alien with green skin like the goblins he just fought. But, alien or not, she's undeniably stunning. Once the lady notices him, she greets Ban Yuan as if she had been expecting him. She introduces herself as the professor of magic combat at Union Academy and expresses her delight to see him there. First, she congratulates him on passing the practical exam and then asks if he knows how extraordinary his test results were, because he has caught the full attention of the entire faculty. Of course, Ban Yuan has absolutely no clue what she's talking about. Meanwhile, the professor continues, explaining that he's the first student in 500 years to create a new artifact during the evaluation. But our boy isn't exactly vibing with all of this praise. After all, he was dragged here without knowing anything and almost died in the process. The professor, however, is all smiles, thrilled beyond measure. She explains that his case is exceptional, even beyond what was expected from the special examination. Meanwhile, Ban Yuan is mentally tuned out, wondering when he'll finally get a chance to leave this academy. But then his eyes land on something strange outside, which is a massive pillar. He curiously asks the professor about the name of that pillar. She explains that the pillar is the very reason Union Academy was established. The academy exists to raise students with the greatest talents across all dimensions and help them reach the top of the tower. This, she says, is the ultimate aspiration of Union Academy and the final hope shared by all dimensions, to conquer the Dungeon of Dungeons, the origin of all mysteries and dangers in this world, known as the Tower of Babel. This revelation hits Ban Yuan like a truck. The Tower of Babel, everything his grandpa used to talk about, the stories he'd heard growing up, it's all here, right in front of him. Even though Ban Yuan is thrilled by the revelation, there's one thing he still doesn't fully understand. They called it the Dungeon of Dungeons. So does that mean strange monsters have taken over the tower? But whatever the case, a smile spreads across his face, because he realizes the glory of his family, and everything from his ancestors will be revived once again. At that moment, he makes his decision to enroll in Union Academy. Thanks to the professor's special treatment, he's sent back home temporarily. After gathering his whole family and explaining everything that just happened, he prepares for his enrollment with renewed determination. Fast forward to his return, inside the lower dungeon of Union Academy, in the Hobgoblin Cave, we meet Ban Yuan again. This time, he's completely obliterating the poor goblins out of existence, wielding his powerful enchanted gun with ease, the results of his training and newfound powers. The legend of his family begins anew, and Ban Yuan is just getting started. Now that we know how Ban Yuan reached this point, it's time to dive deeper into his abilities. You see, at first, he thought his power was limited to language, but after encountering various goblins, he began to seize concepts like demon, life, flesh, murder, and even shooting. This all changed dramatically with the Babylonian Code, an ability that lets him absorb, verbalize, and manipulate the very concepts of all objects around him. Whenever he defeats an enemy, Ban Yuan can acquire concepts that he can recognize. The more concepts he acquires, the stronger he becomes. For example, in his first dungeon, the Blind Goblin Cave, he seized several concepts from the goblins and imbued one, demon, into a club, strengthening it into a weapon. That club is now infused with ghastly energy and has become the first artifact created by Ban Yuan. At his command, the club reveals its true form, transforming and acting autonomously as a weapon. He hugs his new buddy so hard that it makes him blush, all thanks to this little guy, who helped our boy score some great evaluation results. Next, he decides to sort through all the concepts he has got. That's when he notices something among the concepts he snagged from the monsters, a brand new concept called soul. At that moment, his little club starts begging him to share this concept. My guy happily agrees, not just with the soul concept, but he also throws in some life ghosts and spirits. He quickly summons the concepts and embeds them into the club. The combined concepts create perfect harmony, causing a transformation in the artifact. The ghost and beast concepts automatically merge, resulting in an amazing synergy that goes way beyond their current potential. Thanks to the transcendental fusion, Ghost Beast 10 has been completed, and a snake known as the Ghost Beast appears before him. Honestly, I have no idea how his powers are working exactly, but I'll just pretend I do. As fierce as this beast looks, it turns out to be just a little snake that emerged from combining the Ghost and Beast characters, giving life to this new creature known as the Ghost Beast. Ban reaches out to touch it, but when he sees the snake's reptilian face, he hesitates. The snake seems to sense this and starts to look a bit sad. Eventually, Ban musters the courage to rub the snake's head, and the little fella quickly wraps itself around our boy's hand, and Ban even gives him a name, Eve. Before heading back, they decide to check out the growth stats. From what he's experienced so far, life seems to be a concept similar to a level in a game, while flesh represents physical stats. He's still puzzled about why the soul stat is so high. He starts to wonder if abilities like all-seeing eyes and all-hearing ears are somehow related to his language skills. In any case, he decides it's time to return. Once he hits the yes button, he begins to teleport to the Union Academy entrance ceremony. Once we arrive at the Union Academy auditorium for the entrance ceremonies, the whole place is buzzing with new students. In the middle of all the excitement, our boy pops in, catching everyone's attention with his unexpected entrance. He's a bit startled by the sheer number of people around him, but he quickly activates his all-seeing eyes. These special eyes let him read everything depending on his proficiency, allowing him to understand the aura and spirit of his surroundings more deeply. Just as he thought, unlike him, who entered through a special admission from a lower dimension, the regular students who came through the normal process look really strong, even at first glance. As he scans the crowd to find his seat, a giant, ugly bastard suddenly appears in front of him and asks if he's from the lower dimension. He warns our boy not to wander around and to stay out of his sight. My guy just waves them off and starts walking his own path to avoid any commotion. It's clear that those who came in through the regular process have high opinions of themselves and look down on him because he's from a lower dimension. Even here, the ones with power and strength are looking down on those beneath them, which isn't so different from his home planet Earth. He wonders if this attitude is the same everywhere in the world where these people live. Suddenly, someone calls out his name and tells him to come here to sit. As he approaches, he notices only 4 seats, with 3 people already occupying them. He wonders if this is where the special admission students from lower dimensions are supposed to sit. This whole setup is practically screaming racism to him. When he uses his eyesight skills to assess these people's abilities, what he sees completely boggles his mind. Not only are these guys powerful, but they've got enough strength to wipe the floor with the regular students. The blonde guy sitting in the first seat turns out that he already knows our boy. He's the handsome roommate Ban met at the dorm before the entrance ceremony. though their first meeting was a bit unusual. When Ban first entered the dorm room, this blonde dude actually pulled a sword on him. But before things got messy, Ban quickly reminded him that they're both freshmen, which means they're roommates. Blondie apologizes for his earlier behavior, admitting he'd just finished a practical evaluation, so his nerves were a bit on edge. He asks if Ban's okay, but judging by Ban's sweaty face, it's clear he's not feeling great at all. He is, however, more captivated by how this blonde dude literally looks like a prince from a fairy tale, though he's got quite the temper. Still, considering Blondie apologized first, maybe he's not such a bad guy after all. They sit together and chat about their experiences. When Ban shares his story about fighting blind goblins, Blondie can't help but make fun of him, saying even a new recruit with basic training could take down a goblin easily. Naturally, this annoys Ban, who mutters to himself about how this guy is 100% oblivious. Speaking of fights, Ban suddenly remembers he needs to wash his uniform. Without thinking much of it, he starts pulling off his shirt, and the moment his six-pack abs come into view, Blondie goes completely bonkers with embarrassment at the sight of such a chiseled, manly body. When Ban looks at him, Blondie quickly turns his head away to avoid any awkward eye contact, which creeps Ban out a little. In the present, the moment is still filled with tension, but then Ban waves hello to the other two ladies sitting in the adjacent seats. One of them has pink hair and looks absolutely phenomenal, with her toned assets and long hair that perfectly complements her cat-like eyes. Then there's the white-haired girl, and the first impression she gives is anything but pleasant. Ban actually recoils a bit in fear because her deep black eyes are so intimidating that he has to turn his head away. As he does, the creepy white-head lady stares at the white snake wrapped around his hand and asks him what it is. Ban introduces his little friend as Eve, and all three of them instantly warm up to the adorable creature. Blondie then curiously points out that this snake used to look like a club, so he's curious how it transformed so drastically in just a few days. The white-haired girl, who seemed intimidating at first, actually turns out to be pretty chill. She introduces herself as Dak Goyun, the daughter of a martial artist. She then asks Ban for his name, and he promptly introduces himself, following up with a curious question about whether she can shoot energy blasts using her martial arts. Of course, the other three snicker at his ridiculous remark, but Dak Goyun notes that his understanding isn't entirely wrong, which gets Ban even more intrigued. The pink-haired lady introduces herself as Ruchel, and Blondie finally shares his name, Light. Suddenly, Ban spots Professor Yumina in the crowd. Light asks if Ban had also had a consultation with her. Right at that moment, a light starts to shimmer above their heads. When they look up, they realize the auditorium ceiling is opening. A booming voice fills the space, so loud that it feels like their heads are going to split apart. The intense pressure is overwhelming, making it hard for them to even raise their heads. The ominous voice announces the beginning of the entrance ceremony for the 2557th Union Academy class. When we finally look up at the sky, they see a massive eye towering over them. A little while later, we catch sight of Yumina, who looks delighted after hearing the principal's speech, but our party seems a bit unsure about the whole thing. Then Ban casually drops the bomb, asking if that giant eye was actually the principal. His offhand remark totally shocks everyone, and they quickly bombard him with questions about how he could see that eye at all and how he managed to look up. Curious glances fill the room, especially from Dak Goyun, who keeps staring at him with her deep black eyes. It's literally creeping him out. Ban then stutters and twists his story, saying he just felt like there was a giant eye watching them. Anyway, Yumina explains that the being they saw was indeed the principal, and that they probably won't see him again unless a student achieves something special or causes an incident. She's sure that Ban will get a private meeting with the principal, but Ban quips that meeting a terrifying principal is the last thing he wants to do before he dies. Yumina chuckles and tells them that their achievements are also her achievements as their professor, so she encourages them to work hard. This catches Light off guard, and he quickly asks Professor Yumina if she is going to be in charge of them. Yumina puts her cup of tea down and confirms with a smile, officially introducing herself as Professor Yumina. She teaches magical combat and has been assigned as the homeroom professor for their class 11, hoping to work well together for the next 5 years. Light finds it odd because, as far as he knows, lower-tier special admission students are usually assigned to associate professors. Yumina confirms this, explaining that everyone here is such a special student this time that she has been given their responsibility. She decides to give them a piece of advice, which is to be careful of the regular students' jealousy and hostility. Her words carry weight, and Ban can't help but think that the jealousy and hostility she just mentioned aren't just about academic competition. They also refer to physical confrontations and fights between students. Matters outside the internal competition protected by school rules are things even professors can't interfere with. Yumina then tells them that from now on, the four of them should stick together since they're all rare special admission students. They'll also form a party to climb the tower together until graduation. With that, Yumina concludes their session and snaps her fingers to bring out a small gift she has in store for everyone. She promises to explain the rules and details after they receive the artifact. Right at that moment, she produces a pendant, declaring it to be their student ID card. She reminds them that they can use this student ID to identify themselves, access all facilities on campus, and even teleport anywhere within the Union realm. Later, once the trio uses their pendants, they are actually teleported outside of the academy building. But they soon arrive back into the building, which makes them let out a heave of disappointed sighs. I'm not sure why they are disappointed, but I will guess that the pendant forced them to teleport back, since they are not allowed to go outside yet. Anyhow, Light adds that they'll need to keep their student IDs on them if they want to enter the tower. But then the cat girl asks why Ban was left behind alone. Light says he has no clue, but the black-eyed girl suggests that maybe the principal sensed Ban's presence too. She suspects that out of all the students, he was the only one who could look directly at him. So there is a possibility that the principal also felt the presence of Ban as well. The scene then flashes to a little while later, where Yumina is on a phone call. She tells the caller that they were just about to have a tea party, but it looks like they'll have to cancel because the principal wants to meet with him. A bit later, we see Ban's terrified and anxious face. He's literally sweating his balls at the thought of having a private meeting with the principal on the first day, even though he hasn't caused any trouble. The principal instructs him to look directly at him because his true form is not here. Ban finds out his principal is talking through a doll. The principal asks him to address him as his master and decides to explain why he called our boy for a meeting. Usually the master tries not to interfere with the students' growth, and if his students are weak, he leaves them as they are. If they are strong, he lets them stay strong. He further says he doesn't care if any of his students die in the tower or end up surviving to one day gain glory. He then reveals that he is only chasing one goal, which is to witness someone who reaches the end of the tower with his own eyes. With a harsh tone, the master makes it clear that everything is meaningless to him other than seeing someone reaching the very top of the tower. The protagonist becomes silent for a second after hearing all of this, and then questions what he means by meaningless. Ban then also recalls his grandpa's words, and understands that the tower has existed since the time of his ancestors, and the Ban family is determined to take back the tower as well. The protagonist knows he's ready to achieve all the glory and strength, even if it requires sacrifices like his own life. He remains determined to conquer the tower, but wonders why the professor and other students are chasing after the tower's end. He then asks this mysterious man why he comes all the way from other dimensions to climb the tower, and wonders what the tower really is. The master thinks his answer through properly, and reveals that the tower is a gateway to the divine. It's a challenge. Ban remains confused, but his master assures him he has no reason to interfere with the student's hard work, but he's thinking about making an exception this time by helping our boy. Of course, Ban doesn't understand what he's saying. The master points the doll's hand towards the protagonist and tells him he has great potential. Seeing his capabilities, the principal decides to make some efforts to help the boy prepare for his journey to climb the tower. Ban questions what kind of preparation he is talking about. The principal shares that the privileges our protagonist holds for exploration have been increased, and now he can travel to any dungeons easily. The master advises him to increase his skills first before starting his journey to climb up the tower. Ban is surprised to find out he can leave the academy, and the master confirms it once again. After the principal is done with this, he helps the boy teleport back, and before letting him leave, the master advises him to improve his skills again and promises to unlock his next privilege soon if he shows great progress. The next privilege he's getting is solo exploration of the tower. The master hopes they can see each other again and teleports Ban somewhere else. Our boy ends up getting transferred to Professor Yumina's room, and she asks him about the meeting. Ban finds his head on her lap and becomes surprised to see her again. He quickly gets up out of embarrassment. Yumina tells him the master's personality is very strange, and he never likes visitors. She notices his pendant, and is surprised to find out he's been given permission to leave the academy as a student. Ban has no idea if it's a big deal, and remembers the master advising him to improve his abilities quickly. She tells the boy it really is a huge deal and helps him understand that he can now freely explore dungeons beside the tower and also has the freedom to visit external cities at will. She still doesn't believe a student has so much privilege, and tells our boy that with this freedom he can gain a lot of experience and prepare more than others. Ban understands her and is relieved the master wasn't advising him to grow stronger because he's totally weak and lacking behind. He smiles awkwardly. Professor Yumina calls him lucky for the privileges he has gained, and shares that it's hard for the teachers to leave the academy at this time since it is the Union Academy. Yumina reveals that everything inside the academy favors students only and can be a hassle for the professors. Our boy understands her, and she helps him learn that with the new privileges he has gained, the protagonist can easily explore dungeons and visit new cities whenever he's free. Yumina shows how envious she is, and wishes she could also enjoy snacks whenever she wants. The professor recommends Ban to visit an external city known as Ronica, and shares there's an amazing spring temple that's worth a visit. Ban is confused by the professor's sudden change in behavior, and before leaving, he asks if she wants something from the city. After a while, the protagonist starts walking towards the new city. He finds the weather amazing and remembers Professor Yumina's request. She informed him about the famous amazing honeymoon wine that's made by the temple priests. She assigns the protagonist a mission to bring back at least 2 bottles of liquor. Ban still can't believe his professor is asking students to run errands for alcohol. Our boy decides to forget about it and thinks he should be grateful he was able to receive an inventory before he left. Suddenly, he notices an item and remembers it's something he received from his grandpa when he was staying at home just before enrolling at the academy. It's a mysterious bag filled with unknown items. Before Ban was leaving his house, his grandpa asked our boy if he was ready to leave. Our boy assured him he's prepared and questioned if Grandpa slept well. His granddad ignored the question and suddenly revealed a bag. Grandpa asked Ban to open it and take whatever he wants. Our boy was confused at first, and as he opened the mysterious bag, he found pure gold inside of it. Ban was unsure, but the grandpa confirmed it was okay for him to take as much as he wants. With a smile on his face, Ban's granddad told him all the treasure they have belongs to their ancestors, who spent their lives finding the Tower of Babel. He confirmed once more that Ban could keep all of them, and advised the boy to use everything wisely. The protagonist was genuinely grateful to his grandpa and started tearing up out of appreciation. Ban was unsure about how he's supposed to carry so much stuff, annoying his granddad. That was the concern our boy had before, but since now he has authority over an inventory, the protagonist smiles and calls it super useful. He is able to fit all of his items inside the inventory without any hassle, and since he remembers his grandpa teaching him that gold is a valuable item everywhere in the world, our boy decides to take a few pieces of gold. After he is done with preparations, he finally reaches the city of Ronica and becomes excited to set his first foot into the new world. As he finally enters the huge city, our protagonist finds out that despite being in a completely different dimension, the cityscape looks very similar. He realizes his assumption was wrong as soon as he spots multiple flying vehicles everywhere. He questions how that works and suddenly gets called by someone from behind. A few guards approach him as they notice they've never seen him around the city before. As they get closer, the guards realize our boy is a part of Union Academy, which shocks them. They formally greet the protagonist and introduce themselves as the guards that are responsible for the western boundary of the Academy city. Ban introduces himself as well, and they ask how he was able to freely travel to Ronica. They assume our boy received some kind of permission from the Chancellor. He tells them they are correct, and says he has the permission to go exploring freely. The guards show their gratitude for the hard work the Chancellor of the Academy puts in for them to keep the city peaceful. Ban awkwardly laughs and learns his academy is very influential. Since he is a first-year student, the guards assume he doesn't know much about Ronica City and how everything works, so they offer to help him learn more. The guards tell him they will provide him all the guidance since it's a part of their job, and if he is unable to understand something, he is free to ask them. The protagonist decides to take their offer and points towards the hoverbike. Ban tells them he wishes to get one of these bikes and questions how much a hoverbike costs. With the help of the guards in Ronica City, Ban gets his hands on the hoverbike and starts riding it to make his way back toward the academy. The hoverbike makes our boy feel amazing. He soars through the sky and remembers asking the guards to help him buy one earlier. The city guards were a bit confused and informed Ban that even the normal model of a hoverbike costs around 250,000 ronya, which can be very expensive for a student like him. Ban is surprised to find out it's known as a hoverbike and doesn't understand how the currency works in this new world. Our boy decides to exchange a gold bar for it instead, not knowing it's worth a lot. The guards end up getting surprised and question how the protagonist was able to get his hands on such a huge gold bar. Ban reveals his grandpa gave it to him, but they don't believe the gold bar is real. Ban learns that even a single gold bar is worth 7,500,000 ronya, and finds it fortunate that he received something so valuable from his grandpa. He thinks about thanking the old man, and as he makes his way back to the academy, our boy notices his pet snake, Eve. He asks about its opinion and shares that he infused the hoverbike with Yo and Gi attributes, turning it into a living artifact similar to Eve. The protagonist decides to name the hoverbike Lilith and hopes both his living artifacts get along with each other. Eve understands him, and while driving around the Babel Tower, our boy thinks his journey was worth it, as he was able to buy liquor for his professor Yumina and even found a sibling for his pet artifact, Eve. After finishing all his tasks, the protagonist smiles and decides to head back to the academy. After delivering the liquor to the professor, our boy finally joins his friends and starts feeling extremely sick. Acelight gives him a glass of water and expresses his disappointment in Ban. His friend is unable to believe the protagonist ended up coming back hungover after leaving his friends without a word for some random meeting. Ban apologizes and tries to defend himself. He tells them the professor didn't let him leave, and in the end, they both ended up drinking the liquor together. Dogko notices a flower badge on the protagonist's uniform and asks if it's a sign he's going to be representing their group in return for sharing drinks with Professor Yumina. Ban gets confused but thinks Dogko is right. While munching on his food, Aslight realizes they have no choice but to go with the decision since it's from Professor Yumina, who's in charge of them. Dogko shares her opinion and tells everyone she's the only one worthy of representing their group, which shocks both Aslight and Ban. She tells them it's because she's the strongest among all four of them. Dogko asks Ban about his opinion, but Aslight intervenes and makes it clear to her that all four of them are equals. He thinks she's putting it in a strange way, and decides to clear her misunderstandings regarding what she just said. Aslight says her attitude and arrogance will be horrible for their future tower climbs, and tells her he does not believe she is the strongest in the group. Dogko smiles as she finds it funny hearing equal comrades coming from someone who asked Professor Yumina if it's possible to climb the tower alone. She thinks there's no equality in that either. Aslight becomes embarrassed and tries to make excuses. Ban and Ruchel remember he really did ask such a question of the professor. Aslight awkwardly tells both of them he just asked it out of curiosity and assures them he wants to be in a party with all of them. Ban starts to feel hopeless and sees animosity building up before their morning class begins. He now understands that he should have planned everything out in advance. Ban knows their group is going to experience a tough start. Despite having no particular reason to lead his group and become the president, our boy now understands the reason why his professor chose him out of everyone. It's because Aslight is oblivious most of the time, but has a strong sense of pride. Dogko, despite being incredibly strong, is bound to make a lot of enemies because of her self-centered attitude. Ruchel has a passive attitude, but she lacks the personality to lead the group. Ban sighs as he finds out the real personality of special admission students. Our boy tells the whole group to calm down and hear him out first. Ban thinks that, in his opinion, the leader doesn't need to be the strongest among the four of them, and says it's better if they are weaker. Dogko doesn't understand what he's trying to say. Ban helps her understand that if the class president is the strongest person, they are surely going to make decisions on their own, and someone who has the responsibility to unite the class shouldn't do that. His party members hear him out, and the protagonist tells them the leader of their group needs to be someone who is able to offer good solutions for everyone, and it's also important for him to be in the middle of the group. Ban says he has the most easygoing personality, so in his opinion, he is the only one worthy of becoming the class president. Dogko doesn't agree with him, but since Ban has already been chosen by the professor to be the class president, she decides to go along with his reasoning for the time being, and lets him off the hook. Our boy thanks her for understanding, and feels relieved. Dogko tries to be honest, and with a cold expression, she tells everyone she only wishes to lead the protagonist. Our boy doesn't understand what she's trying to say. Dogko tells them there are a few things she doesn't agree with, but since she wants to get what she desires, she is willing to accept someone as unnecessary as her classmates as well. Aslight and Ruchel are a bit shocked to hear this. Dogko hopes they can see each other again and leaves. Our boy tries to anxiously calm down his roommate and becomes a bit disappointed after experiencing such a morning on his first day of school. Ban becomes tired and questions why a simple school morning feels like he's on a battlefield. The protagonist decides to give himself a break and understands that it will take time for him to resolve the issue of pride among the group members. Ruchel asks Ban about something. She excitedly questions if he still has the cute snake he showed them earlier and tells our boy she wishes to at least touch it once. Ban realizes the academy is filled with multiple challenges, and in his first lesson as the class president representing everyone in a room filled with many unique individuals, our boy ends up facing a new difficulty as one of the students challenges him in a fight to see if the leftover students are skilled. At the training ground, Ban stands with his group as they all face the special students. The professor decides to start the first lesson with some light sparring and asks the students about their opinions. Class 11's special students start acting insane and demand a sparring session against the leftover students, which include the protagonist. They're all mad and don't believe the professor chose our boy as the class representative. The special students try to challenge Ban. Seeing them riled up, our boy feels awkward. Aslight learns that the Union Academy assigns students to different classes based on their skills and abilities. He realizes the students of the special class already seem to hate Class 11 for some reason. Ban anxiously shares that it's most probably because he's wearing the flower badge that's provoking all of them. Erecto, a muscle-headed student, notices the flower badge our boy received from Professor Yumina and feels mocked by the protagonist. The musclehead grits his teeth in anger seeing Ban wearing it in front of him and chooses to never acknowledge the protagonist. Erecto starts screaming and demands a sparring match against Ban. He asks the professor and ends up getting permission easily. The professor asks our boy to come forward as he is going to face Erecto in a sparring match. The scene then shifts to the professor's office where she wonders seriously what is going on. Her class is being forced into a joint session with a special class on the very first day. Starting with practical combat feels completely wrong. There is no way a lower dimension student should be fighting an upper dimension class. Someone must have known this would happen, yet they allowed it anyway. She does not know who is behind this setup, but something about it feels very wrong. Back at the arena, our boy raises his hand and tells the teacher that his combat skills are still lacking. and he does not think he will gain anything by fighting. The teacher responds coldly, deducts 3 points from him, and orders him to start immediately since it's not a valid excuse. Watching this, Ban wonders why the teacher is treating him this way and whether he is trying to humiliate him in front of everyone. He tells him that this is not an excuse but a fact. He was admitted to the academy through special admission because of his unique ability, not his combat skills. If the teacher is so curious about a special admission student's abilities, it would make more sense to let him demonstrate them in another way rather than forcing him into a fight. Hearing this, the teacher becomes furious and shouts, asking whether he is trying to teach a teacher how to do their job. When the hero tries to argue, the teacher deducts 5 more points. Seeing this happen, our boy feels frustrated and raises his finger, suggesting that they take this week as preparation and push the sparring match for next week. He explains that he needs 1 week to fully prepare himself and believes that by then, his preparation will be almost complete. After hearing this, the entire place falls silent. Some students below whisper in confusion, wondering what he is saying. Others mock him, saying he wants to prepare and fight next week, calling it nonsense. They believe his abilities are obviously at rock bottom and question whether he can really last against the special class after only asking for a week. The teacher becomes furious and asks if Ban is ignoring him and deciding the timing of the fight on his own. When the hero doesn't say anything, he eventually agrees and announces that the two of them will have their match next week. However, it will be an official match, with a public format that the entire academy will watch through a live broadcast. Hearing this, our boy realizes that the teacher just wants to make this even bigger to humiliate him in front of everyone. After the teacher is done with his announcement, the hero turns to Erecto and expresses his excitement for their upcoming match. The rock guy simply looks away with a cold expression, muttering that he is annoyed. The hero already knew he wouldn't react with enthusiasm, and the actual reason he talked to him was to figure out his stats. Compared to what he imagined, his life force and body stats are extremely high. His life is 5 times higher than Ban's, and his physical strength is 10 times higher. Even so, in front of his group, the guy is nothing. The hero realizes that if he wants to climb the tower with them, he must surpass Erecto. Ban then asks the other two why they both look so gloomy, jokingly asking if they are worried about him. The reason for their worry soon appears when Dako steps forward, ready to fight. The girl addresses everyone, saying that unlike the class president, she is a combat specialist. She asks whether they are not curious about the abilities of a special admission student and invites anyone there to come fight her. Ban activates his eye ability and is shocked as he looks at her stats. The girl ties her hair and declares that she will accept anyone's challenge without hesitation. No one speaks. All the students are stunned into silence, and even the teacher is shocked to see no one daring to challenge her. The hero knows why they are all chickening out. Even with his eyes capable of infinite reading, he still cannot fully measure her power. There is no way the students have not sensed how terrifyingly powerful she is. Seeing no one step forward, the girl asks what is wrong and whether she should suppress her power if they lack confidence. She then calls out the rock guy by name, asking if he is not the type to hold back and telling him to come forward so she can crush him. Hearing this, Ban realizes that Erecto is completely terrified. His original target was the hero, but now he has been challenged by someone he never even imagined facing. That if the rock guy tries to back out now, his reputation will be finished, and he might not recover for a week. Even though our boy doesn't care about him, he still does not want things to turn out like this. With this, he steps forward and tells the girl to wait her turn since he is going to have a sparring match with the rock guy next week. Dako asks him if he is sure, and the hero assures her, declaring that he wants to prove himself using his own abilities. This makes her a bit impressed as she realizes that he does have a bit of manliness in him. Now that she isn't fighting the rock guy, she starts challenging the rest of the special class, but no one responds. This makes her sigh and she turns around, mocking them for barking so loud just a minute ago. The other students are mad hearing this, but it's not like they can do anything. Suddenly, one student speaks up asking if she just called them dogs. He smirks, saying that only the weak people band together in groups and pretend to protect each other. Ban looks toward him and wonders who this guy is. Even among the special class, he feels like someone on a completely different level. Light explains who he is, saying that he is Ordama, the ruler of the Kedius dimension. The hero is still confused, so the blonde guy explains that there are 10 dimensions in total, ranked by hierarchy, and the guy is from a family that rules over one of those dimensions. Hearing this, our boy realizes just how dangerous that boy truly is. After some time passes, that guy calls out to the teacher, who begins preparing something. The pink-haired girl asks what it is, and Light explains that it is a recording device that will capture the fight. He says they usually upload such recordings publicly online. Ban finds this familiar, and remarks that it is similar to the systems where he comes from. The blonde guy is surprised that someone from a lower dimension knows about the intranet, but the hero explains simply that it is a network used to share information. Rushel then adds that the academy has a live channel where classes and events are broadcast. Our boy thanks her for the information and notices that the match is already being streamed live. Looking at the professor with annoyance, he suspects the teacher is trying to profit from this spectacle. Soon, Dako and Ortama stand facing each other and release their energy. The guy asks her to begin, but she instead gives him the first move, calling him a rookie. This angers him, and he releases a powerful ability commanding her to kneel. The hero feels the atmosphere change dramatically. The force pressing down on him feels different from his own power. It feels suffocating, like trying to breathe without air, and it even seems to push him to kneel as though obeying some natural rule. The blonde guy asks if Ban has figured out the principle behind Ortama's ability, while the pink-haired girl appears too frightened even to look at the guy directly. Suddenly, Dako releases a mass of black energy and uses a powerful ability that instantly nullifies her opponent's power. Everyone around them is stunned. Even our boy cannot believe it, noting that she used only a small portion of her energy to erase his attack in a single moment. The guy admits that she has some skill, but she mocks him in return, saying his power is disappointing. He refuses to accept that and prepares to launch another attack. The next instant, the girl moves with incredible speed, delivering a kick to his stomach. She points out that she would never allow him to repeat the same attack, and that his technique only grows stronger the closer someone gets, making it predictable. The guy from special class is forced to use both arms just to block her blows. However, she quickly moves behind him at high speed and remarks that when someone lacks intelligence, their body must work harder. He swings back angrily, but she comments that his movements are slow and lack strength, even mocking him for needing help with basic things. Furious, Ortama attacks again, but she easily dodges. Light watches in disbelief, realizing she is completely overpowering him and is far stronger than expected. Our boy realizes that her opponent has grown accustomed to restraining his opponent's movements and defeating them by manipulating natural laws. However, that strategy is not working against someone Dako, which is why he is struggling. Despite his power and physical strength, it is clear he has never truly relied on his own body in combat. As Ban analyzes the fight in detail, his friend wonders if he can really see all of this so clearly. Two of the strongest fighters are clashing evenly in front of them, yet he is able to keep up with their techniques. Light realizes that these special admission students from the lower dimension are far more extraordinary than they appear, and begins to wonder what exactly is happening before his eyes. The guy keeps getting hit with repeated punches, and in anger he demands to know how she dares to humiliate him. Before he can finish, another blow lands on his cheek. The girl mocks him for talking too much and implies that if he keeps complaining, it only shows that the fight has dragged on longer than he can handle. Suddenly she senses something and is caught off guard. Ortama unleashes a dangerous ability and swears he will not forgive her. Overcome with rage, he threatens to kill her on the spot. Hearing the word death, she mentions that it's not something a kid like him should be talking about. While mocking him, she creates that same black energy around her fist and charges forward. At the same time, the guy prepares his own attack, and both rush toward each other at full speed. Just as they are about to clash, Professor Yumina suddenly appears and stops them. Flowers bloom everywhere around them, freezing the moment before their attacks land. Both fighters are stunned, wondering what just happened. The professor explains that the academy does not encourage students to fight to the death, and that they should save their strength for the tower instead. With a snap of her fingers, the flowers scatter into the air and vanish. Ban watches silently, realizing this is no illusion because he can smell the fragrance all around. The guy grits his teeth in frustration and leaves angrily. As he walks away, Dako turns to the professor and admits that she is quite strong. Hearing this, she lets out a smile. The girl then returns to the group, where the hero welcomes her back and tells her that watching the fight was incredible and taught him a lot. Suddenly, the pink-haired girl clings to him from behind, still frightened. The hero turns back in confusion and asks her what is going on. Seeing her sweating, he realizes that she is still scared. This makes him blush a bit since he finds it cute. Meanwhile, the professor begins shouting angrily at the instructor who arranged the sparring session, criticizing him for allowing such an unrestricted fight on the very first day and simply watching from the side. The scolded teacher apologizes repeatedly, but Yumina says an apology is not enough and warns him to be prepared for consequences. She then turns to Ban and points at his badge, reminding him that as class president, his dignity matters, and questioning why he is wearing his badge upside down. This only makes the surrounding students even more shocked and irritated. After that, she leaves, wishing them a good day. Our boy realizes that although the professor came to stop the fight, she has only stirred up more tension. The students burn with anger, and news of the incident quickly spreads throughout the academy. Some watch the live stream while others see recordings online. Many comment on how shocking it is, saying the match was completely one-sided and wondering how a lower dimension student could overpower a top student. Others argue about it, calling the silver-haired girl terrifying and even declaring her their new favorite. Seeing the interaction between Yumina and the hero, many viewers become curious about who he really is. Soon, the entire internet buzzes with discussion about them. Reading all this, our boy remarks that it feels like the whole world is talking about them. However, Dako is focused on something else. She finds it strange that the guy she fought was considered the most powerful in their class when she clearly sensed a girl who was much stronger. The hero laughs and admits that he was so focused on her fight that he did not notice anyone else. As Light checks his device, he tells Ban that his name is being discussed all over the school community. Our boy assumes the other students are angry because their top fighter lost and are now directing their frustration at him, but the girl adds that the discussions are about more than just that. Just then, they notice Ruchel sitting far away, still trembling with fear. Everyone falls silent. The hero realizes she is deeply afraid of the silver-haired girl and cannot even imagine how they are supposed to share the same room. Thinking she must still be shaken from earlier, he decides to try comforting her. He pulls out an item from his inventory and shows it to everyone. It is a special elixir jam created by him using his ability that can raise a person's stats when used. As the two of them stare at it in confusion, Ban opens the container and encourages everyone to try it, saying they will be amazed by the taste. He asks them for some bread. The pink-haired sits nearby with her head lowered. Suddenly, the sweet fragrance reaches her, and as she smells it, she becomes surprised and quickly looks toward its source. The hero offers it to them, and they each take a bite. The moment they eat it, it melts in their mouths and tastes incredible. Both of them cannot stop themselves from eating it. Our boy then turns to Ruchel and invites her to come over. Though still hesitant, she is tempted by the smell and asks if he can make one for her too. As soon as she eats it, she is captivated by the taste and describes it as the pure essence of fruit, the best flavor she has ever experienced. After finishing, Dako licks her finger and says it feels like she just ate something extremely expensive. Ban replies that it is not that costly, and that since they are a team, they should share good things with each other. He also considers it a return for the kindness she showed him earlier. Even so, the girl feels it is too much. She suddenly stands up and declares that in return for this elixir, she will teach him martial arts. Moments later, the two of them teleport to a training room. Walking around, the girl comments the space is enough as long as she has room to move. Meanwhile, our boy looks around and realizes that the room seems to mirror the mind, just as he expected from the Union's facilities. Since they left their meal midway to come here, he asks what she plans to teach him. Dako says the space is sufficient and begins swinging a wooden sword at high speed. She tells him not to move carelessly and to stay where he is. Taking her stance, the girl begins her lesson and pushes the sword forward in a sudden motion, creating a powerful burst of air pressure. As our boy stands frozen, she explains that the move is called thrust. Even though her attack seemed too powerful for a human, in that exact moment, Ban managed to learn a new concept. After watching her strike, the idea of penetration appears in his mind. He wonders why this concept stands out, since the motion itself relates to swordsmanship. Seeing him distracted, the girl calls out to him, asking if he is paying attention. After he apologizes, she tells him to focus and explains that a thrust has no fixed form. It can be executed in many ways, and what she is showing him is only the basic principle. No matter how or where it is performed, what matters is the intent and force behind it. There are many variations, but the ultimate basic is simply to thrust and never forget that essence. The hero realizes that she has mastered this concept completely, instead of combining multiple concepts into one. To him, this seems to be the true essence of the technique. When she asks him if he wants to try, he agrees, but warns that his imitation might be clumsy. She laughs, commenting that her years of training would be wasted if he could replicate it exactly on his first try. Before she can even finish, our boy lets out a powerful thrust using the wooden sword. The girl is shocked seeing this and starts to wonder if he really managed to grasp the concept just by seeing it once. However, it seems like the hero is still not satisfied. He reflects that he has been concentrating on combining different concepts to increase his strength, but he can also grow stronger by working on the concepts he already knows. With this, he begins to question why the idea of penetration came to his mind out of all the different characteristics of thrusting. Suddenly, it all starts to make sense as he realizes that his attack needs to pierce its target no matter what. This time, his sword pierces the air so fast that it almost creates a sonic boom. Dako stares at him in disbelief and tells him to stop pushing himself so hard from the beginning. As the hero agrees in exhaustion, he suddenly notices several system windows appearing in front of him. This makes him confused as he notices that his stats have gone up just by swinging a sword a few times. Not just that, his swordsmanship has also shot up to 20, even though he couldn't increase it by fighting goblins. While he is looking at the system windows in shock, the girl admits she did not expect to feel defeated in this way. She mentions that he has shown the essence of the technique in a free-form manner that adapts to any weapon. The hero seems surprised by her praise and insists that he only followed what she taught. Watching her movements, he could clearly sense the profoundness behind them, which really made him wonder if a person could actually master a concept to this level. That's how he was able to immerse himself into the movements. Listening to all the glaze, the girl starts blushing and replies that he's too straightforward to be saying things like that when they barely know each other. Our boy casually ignores this and mentions that they are even now. However, Dako still thinks he owes her something for the lesson today. When he asks her what she wants, she smiles and tells him that she will make up for it over time, so he should be prepared. With this, the two of them decide to leave since it's time for their next lecture. While teleporting back, the hero expresses his surprise since he didn't think she could also show emotions like that. Back in the hallway, a group of special class students notice the pink-haired girl approaching. One of them blocks her way, demanding to know where she is from. As Ruchel looks at him in confusion, we see another hand appear in front of her. Her friend steps up and asks the guy what he wants since they are both in the same class. The kid who stopped her gets mad and starts mocking him. Before things can escalate, the hero teleports back with the emo girl. He notices the two of them standing at a distance and asks him what they are doing outside the class. As soon as the other students notice Dako, they realize it's time to leave. After they walk away, Ban asks the blonde guy what is going on, but he stays silent. Later, the four of them sit in their history class as the teacher talks about the appearance of the tower. While everyone else is listening to the lecture, the same students from before start taking pictures of Ruchel. They make fun of her for trying to climb the tower and mockingly suggest that she find another job. Despite our group sitting at a distance, they can hear everything those kids are saying. The hero sighs, thinking to himself that people are the same everywhere. However, he still doesn't understand why the professor isn't saying anything since the kids are too loud. Just then, the blonde guy stands up shouting that the students are being too loud, and it's hard for them to concentrate on the lecture. Hearing this, the professor simply tells all students not to disturb the class and goes back to giving his lecture. The hero and his friend are visibly disappointed by his response, but it's not like they can do anything. Moreover, the kids at the back become even more confident and start openly commenting about their relationships. All of this is too much for Light to bear, and he breaks his pencil in half. Our boy pats him on the back, trying to calm him down, but the guy complains that they are saying weird stuff about their group mates. Still, Ban knows that they can't really fight them on something like this, since it's pointless. He explains that if they do something during the class, it might backfire. However, it doesn't mean they can't teach those guys a lesson. The hero takes out his phone and shows him a live stream of their classroom that he has been streaming on YouTube. Everything those guys are doing is being recorded and streamed live for the public to see. Our boy lets out an evil laugh and comments that those kids will get what they deserve soon enough. Unaware of the hidden camera behind them, the kids keep on spouting nonsense about the girl. Everyone watching immediately gets mad and starts praising Ruchel for not reacting to their mean comments. The hero even used a clickbait title so more people would tune in. It doesn't take long for the kids to find out about the live stream. They start to panic and frantically search for the camera. Eventually, they notice Eve on a nearby wall holding a camera. Before the kids can reach it, the snake disappears. However, all of that noise makes the professor furious. He asks for their names and before they can make any excuses, kicks them out. After getting rid of them, he mentions that they will get an F in this subject for the whole semester. Still, our boy thinks that they should have gotten a harsher punishment for the comments that they made. Hearing this, the Ruchel turns to the hero and smiles, telling him that it's enough. She thanks both of them for their help and standing up for her. Ban tries playing it cool and says that he didn't really do much since he isn't as strong as them. His group mates think different as one of them admits that he feels more at ease knowing that he is the class president. After the class, as they are casually walking around the campus, the same group of kids calls out to Light. This makes the pink-haired girl scared, and she hides behind our boy. However, the blonde kid turns back with a cold expression facing the bullies and asks them what they want. The three boys stand in front of him, furious. One of them holds a sword and demands an explanation for what happened earlier, blaming the live broadcast for ruining his semester scores. Another complains that seniors are mocking them and classmates are avoiding them. Our boy thinks to himself how 3 students are surrounding one person, yet no one around seems to care. He reflects bitterly that people from lower dimensions like them are not even treated as human by others here. The boys shout angrily, questioning what Light just said. The blonde guy calmly calls them barbarians and declares that he will only talk if they ask politely. This only makes them angrier, and they insult him in return. Suddenly, Light draws his sword and swings it at incredible speed, cutting through the opponent's weapon and sending it flying away. Ban is shocked by what he sees. He notices strange glowing concepts appearing around his friend, as if something unusual is happening. The blonde guy steps forward, holding his shining blade near the opponent's neck. Terrified, the boy drops to his knees, unable to move under the pressure. Light coldly tells him that if he speaks properly, then he might agree to talk. The hero finds the situation strange and wonders how his friend changed so suddenly. It feels as if his personality has shifted completely, possibly because of the sword. The atmosphere settles, and the blonde guy decides to leave, saying everything is calm now. The boy on his knees struggles to move, overwhelmed by the pressure. One of his friends keeps shouting angrily, but Dako watches silently from the side. The blonde guy then turns to the teacher and asks what punishment a group receives for suddenly attacking a classmate during a real session. The teacher is surprised by the question and explains that the academy sometimes encourages sparring matches to a certain extent. When the kid points out that he never accepted any sparring match, the teacher responds that he still drew out a personal artifact first. Hearing this, the blonde guy argues that he was just defending himself and even asks the professor what he would have done in his situation. Meanwhile, our boy can't help but feel worried about his friend since he almost seems out of his mind. The blonde guy continues his confrontation and angrily demands to know what the professor will say about all the insults and humiliation he faced. With a slight grin on his face, the professor claims that he didn't see any of it. This only makes Light angrier, and he prepares to swing his sword, asking the professor how he can say something like that. Fortunately, the emo girl steps in and flicks him on the head with her finger. The impact snaps him back to his senses. He cries out in pain, while Dako scolds him for making so much noise and acting arrogantly just because he is holding a sword. While the kid screams in pain, Ban notices that the strange energy around him has disappeared. However, the teacher doesn't seem pleased by his actions and walks away, calling him a lowly lower dimension creature. After he leaves, our boy sighs, commenting that it was a close call. Meanwhile, the silver-haired girl continues scolding Light, pointing out how he lost control simply because of the divine weapon. The scene then shifts again to the academy building where we see our group eating together. Ban speaks out, commenting that they will not be treated well at the academy if they continue like this. Light appears confused by this and asks if he is really saying that. The hero gets triggered and reminds him that he isn't the one picking fights with the professor. Hearing this, the blonde guy apologizes and explains that he was just trying to improve the situation. However, our boy still scolds him for trying to go after the professor, instead of dealing with the kids who started all of this in the first place. He knows that if his friend was his usual self, he wouldn't have acted so recklessly, but something appeared to have changed within him. Ban suspects the sword might be the cause. He asks Light to be honest and confirm whether he can control that power. The blonde guy quickly gets up from his seat and assures him that he can. Otherwise, he would not have been able to pass the entrance exams. He explains that he was simply very angry because of the teacher's lies. Our boy agrees that lying is wrong and decides to trust him. Light promises that what happened today will not happen again. Dako comments that while he says it is not a problem, seeing him getting controlled by a divine object was quite a sight. After scolding her friend, she turns to the hero and reminds him of the teacher's earlier advice, saying that if they keep going like this, their school life will gradually worsen. As class president, she wants to know what he is thinking about their future. Ban reflects that during his time at the academy, he has noticed several issues: people's strange mindset about birth and strength, their hostility toward those from lower dimensions, and an old system that supports this prejudice. All of this makes him wonder what outsiders like them can even do in such a place. Turning to the entire group, he asks what they think is necessary to gain favor from a large number of people. After a bit of thinking, the blonde guy suggests talking, Dako suggests power, and Ruchel remains confused. The hero dismisses all of their answers and hints that they already have what it takes. Pointing his make-believe camera at them, he announces that it's their looks. Later, as they all gather in the training arena, he proposes creating a channel where they show their daily lives to the public. Where he comes from, building a public image is common. When people become familiar with someone's image, it creates a sense of familiarity that can grow into respect and even admiration. Hearing all this, Light asks why they need to spar if they are aiming for respect and admiration. Our boy clarifies that the sparring match is not an act, but a real match, so it should be taken seriously. As they talk, a sparring match begins. The emo girl tells Ban not to worry because sometimes a few hits are enough to make someone serious. She then throws her blonde friend to the ground with ease while our boy records the entire fight. While he is on the ground, she mocks him, asking if he is done. She goes a bit further, trying to rage bait him, and says that it now makes sense how that divine sword was able to control him so easily. All of this seems to be working, so the girl continues telling him to bring out the sword since she doesn't believe it will make a difference anyway. Hearing this only makes Light angrier, and he shouts in frustration. Meanwhile, the hero keeps recording and encourages him to continue, saying he is doing great. Ruchel, however, feels uneasy and questions whether all this recording will really make their school life any easier. Our boy explains that things will not change overnight, but their actions will have some effect. He asks her to imagine how those boys who used to bully them would react if they realized how skilled they really are now. If that happens, they would never dare to mess with them again. The girl finally understands what he is trying to do. While they are talking, the other two continue to fight like they are mortal enemies. The hero then reassures Ruchel not to worry about the results, and tells her that her beauty is far too precious to waste on unnecessary stress. Hearing this surprises her. He continues by reminding her that a beautiful face looks even better with a smile, and that she has the kind of charm that could win anyone over anywhere. It would be a shame to ruin that by worrying so much. The girl blushes shyly at his words, thinking to herself that whenever he says something like this, she really feels like he is telling the truth. Meanwhile, we see the blonde guy running away from Dako, who jokingly tells him that she was only warming up. The scene shifts to the pink-haired struggling to eat something and complaining tearfully that she cannot manage it because it looks terrible. The hero keeps recording and reassures her that she will be fine and will get used to it. After his earlier suggestion, the group decided to make a channel called Rebellion and began uploading videos of their daily life. The response to these uploads was overwhelming. Viewers flooded the comments with surprise, wondering if the videos were real. Some videos showed them fighting while others were simply them playing board games. This helps create a positive image of their group, and the viewers can't wait for their next video. When the group checks their channel, Ban is stunned to see that they have gained 1,000 subscribers in just one day. Unsurprisingly, their most popular video is of the blonde guy getting beaten up. While they are celebrating, Professor Yumina arrives and praises them, saying it is impressive that in a dimension full of endless possibilities, no student had thought about creating media content before. By making entertainment and connecting with people through it, they have done something unique. However, today is the day. They are finally going to enter the tower, and the professor asks them if they are prepared. Everyone else is dressed in comfortable battle-ready clothes, while the hero notices he is the only one still in his school uniform. He reflects on how his previous life was peaceful, but he has now chosen a path where he must fight for survival. Accepting this, he says his current clothes are good enough. Afterwards, the professor draws a large magic circle, and they teleport to the tower's entrance. People nearby recognize them as the group behind the Rebellion channel, and react with surprise. The professor explains that the tower has been open since morning and that entry is organized by grade level. Because of their high visibility, they are being allowed in earlier than expected. They also notice former bullies among the crowd, but those students seem different now, apparently even subscribing to their channel. Despite this, Doko warns that some of the students are still staring at them with murderous intent. Our boy acknowledges this and reflects that today marks the start of their climb. He also remembers that in a few days he will face Erecto in battle. Within that time, he needs to reach a level where the rock guy can't touch him. As they all gather, the professor advises them to finish exploration early and come back before the weekend. However, since they are the ones actually entering the tower, she gives them the choice to decide and asks how long it will take. Turning around, Ban asks everyone if they are also thinking the same and declares that they need 2 nights and 3 days. Hearing this, the professor smiles and tells them to be careful. Before entering the tower, our boy silently asks his ancestors to watch and wait for what comes next. The scene changes to a few hours earlier when the hero asked his professor if they could keep recording everything. He explains that once they enter the tower, he wants to capture whatever situations they encounter, while the robot will handle most of the filming. The professor wonders whether recording will even be meaningful, since the tower constantly changes from moment to moment. Ban is surprised by this, and Light checks the basic manual confirming that the tower truly does shift continuously. He also notes that machines brought inside tend to break quickly, which makes the situation even stranger. Professor Yumina then explains how the tower works. Each floor contains rooms, and when the boss of a room is defeated, or when its traps are successfully avoided, that room becomes part of the next one. In the Union, these unique changes are called shifts. The more shifts someone experiences, the deeper they travel into the tower. Hearing this, the hero asks if that means the rooms are always moving during these shifts, and the professor confirms that once they pass a room, they cannot return to it. The blonde guy wonders whether the monsters and traps also change, and the professor explains that each new room brings stronger monsters and different traps. While they are talking, Dako casually asks what happens if someone dies while climbing the tower. This shocks the entire group, who realize they had not fully considered that possibility. The professor smiles slightly and admits it is an important question. She reassures them that in many areas of the tower, even if someone dies, it does not mean true death. Instead, they are returned to the tower's entrance. Ban is relieved but asks if that means they would have to start from the beginning again. The professor clarifies that their student ID cards record their progress through shifts, so when they re-enter, they can continue from where they left off. Because of this, the ID is extremely important and must never be forgotten. Holding his ID like a pendant, our boy remarks that it feels similar to a game with a save function. Light comments that if they can revive, they can challenge the tower as many times as they want. However, the emo girl points out that the teacher mentioned only some areas prevent true death. This suggests that in certain parts of the tower, they could die for real. Professor Yumina confirms that there are indeed situations where they can die for real. The scene shifts to the present inside the tower. The group fights sticky monsters called claw scythers that can consume any kind of weapon. The blonde guy attacks the scythers head-on, while Dako uses a finger flick technique that releases laser-like beams to cut through them. Behind the others, our boy stands near a torch, trying to draw out the concept of flame he senses within it. He realizes that although he could do this outside the tower and in other dimensions, something is preventing him from doing it here. He suspects this may be the key to unlocking his ability and resolves to figure it out. Seeing him standing near the torch, the emo girl approaches him and asks what happened. He apologizes, explaining he got lost in thought while trying to extract the flame, but it did not work. She comments that it is unfortunate, since mastering that skill would have allowed them to manipulate any area of the tower as they wished. The hero jokingly asks her not to make such ominous predictions about his abilities. Suddenly, a monster attacks from behind her, but a fast-moving chain slices through it. The chain, which resembles a snake-like artifact, destroys the creature instantly. The girl realizes that this is actually the snake she saw earlier and admits the weapon is impressive. With this, the chain swings around the entire hallway and obliterates the monster. Ban reveals that he has even stronger tools, though they make too much noise. Hearing this, the girl points out that the current battle is already loud, especially with Light and Ruchel shouting as they fight. She remarks that in combat, it is usually better to stay quiet and avoid drawing attention, yet they are making as much noise as possible. After shouting on top of their lungs, the group finally manages to clear room 1. However, something suddenly changes, and the emo girl senses an energy gathering around them. The group wonders if it's an elite monster and turns to the hero. Our boy already knows what it means and starts activating his eyes of infinite reading. He signals the pink-haired girl to attack the obelisk in front of them. Without wasting a second, she runs forward and smashes the wall into pieces. Light watches in shock as he realizes that they took down the monster before it even fully materialized, and even obtained an enhancement core. As the girl picks up the core, our boy calls out to her, noticing something strange with her hair. When she turns around, he realizes that her hair has changed color. Our boy guesses that her technique is based on a concept called heart furnace. It allows her to burn her emotions as fuel to gain power, similar to a berserker. He understands that if her hair changes completely, the effect could become even more intense. While he is busy thinking, Ruchel nervously asks if she looked frightening just now. He smiles and reassures her that she did not. In fact, they can rely on her strength. Still, the girl worries about losing control in the future, but Dako steps in and reminds her that everything is fine and that she should not be so anxious about it. She declares that if the girl ever becomes a danger, she will eliminate her before that can happen. This shocks everyone, and Ruchel becomes visibly frightened. Ban immediately objects, reminding the emo girl that if anyone in their group dies, they will be forced to restart from the first room. The girl argues that if such a situation keeps repeating, they might end up climbing the tower with fewer members anyway. She even suggests that the two of them could continue together alone. Hearing this, the pink-haired girl seems worried, and the hero can clearly notice that. He gently reassures her, saying that as class president, it is his responsibility to find the best solution in situations like this. Her expression brightens, and she thanks him warmly. This sparks another argument as Dako accuses our boy of being a simp. Eventually, the group moves on to the second floor. After teleporting, the blonde guy observes the grass growing there and comments that it does not look very different from the previous room. Meanwhile, the hero examines the elite monster core Ruchel gave him earlier. He reflects on how much concepts he learned in just one room of the tower compared to all the time he spent in earlier dungeons. From the core, he extracts attributes like acid and fusion that can dissolve materials. He applies fusion to his sword and feeds the remaining acid to his pet. The emo girl suddenly appears beside him and notes that Eve has grown stronger in a very short time. This startles the hero, and he yells at her for sneaking up on him. At the same time, Light notices a bunch of red circles in front of them and warns them that the monsters are about to appear. As he speaks, a laser beam shoots past him and instantly all the monsters. The emo girl remarks that the second floor is not much different from the first, and questions whether such weak enemies could truly pose a threat. The monsters here turn out to be evil spirits that attack the magic within humans. Seeing her so confident, Light comments that danger only strikes when people least expect it. Hearing this, she suggests they should let Ban handle all the monsters on this floor by himself. Our boy is startled by the suggestion, and both the blonde guy and Ruchel worry that it is too dangerous. The emo girl argues that it is actually a great idea, since the hero needs to develop his abilities quickly, especially with an upcoming match. Our boy realizes she has a point and steps forward, agreeing to take responsibility for the fight. His friend warns him again, but he insists that he needs to grow stronger and asks the others to help cover any gaps if necessary. Even though they think it's too risky, they agree with his suggestion. Ban thanks them and turns to Dako, asking her if she will have his back later if he uses too much energy right now. She smiles, promising him that she won't let him die from overexertion. The next moment, our boy calls his pet Eve and transforms it into a gun. He begins firing rapidly, taking down the monsters one by one. Everyone in the group is astonished by the weapon's power and speed. Light wonders if it is a weapon from Ban's world and realizes how effective it would be in their own country. Meanwhile, the emo girl observes that the weapon is strong enough to handle lower first-rate assassins and even martial artists, though its straightforward attack style is better suited for long-range combat. In a closed area like this, enemies could still attack from blind spots. Just as she thinks of this, an evil spirit suddenly appears behind our boy and catches him off guard. Both of his friends quickly shout to warn him, but the monster is already too close. Just when it gets closer, our boy quickly turns and cuts it down with a single swing of his sword. Watching in shock, the blonde guy asks him about the sword. When the hero looks at him in confusion, he clarifies that he was asking about his sword-wielding skill. Ban tries playing it cool and comments that he is still not as good as him or the emo girl. Dako smiles as she hears this since she was the one who taught him. The hero continues advancing, switching between gunfire and sword strikes as he defeats the remaining spirit monsters. Eventually, only one enemy remains. He has his pet bind it with a chain and suggests they rest briefly before finishing it off, since defeating it will trigger the next shift. Nearby, the emo girl studies a fallen spirit and notices that the edge of Ban's sword is melting and dispersing. She realizes he is already using an ability he gained earlier. Reflecting on how he fights, she finds it strange that someone from a peaceful world is growing stronger so quickly. Light praises the hero for seemingly controlling the timing of the shift and calls his performance amazing. The pink-haired girl adds that his ideas are what one would expect from an experienced student. Even Dako compliments his final attack, calling it excellent. However, she adds that if he focused more on quicker sword strikes, he would improve even further, though she admits he is still far better than someone who swings a blade recklessly without thinking. Light suddenly gets angry and wonders how he can be called a fool when he also fought hard. Hearing this, she clarifies that she never said the fool was one of them and questions how he assumed that. As the two of them argue, our boy reaches into his inventory, takes out a can, opens it, and starts drinking with a relaxed smile. He jokingly remarks that even though they are on a break, none of them seems tired at all. The others stare at him as he drinks, which surprises him. They demand to know what he is drinking by himself. Ban nervously shows them the item and mentions that it's something sold outside. The three of them stare again, and Light explains that only he can leave this place and travel outside, while they cannot. Seeing their reaction, he tells them to calm down and explains that he did not bring much with him and that the drink is only useful when someone feels a bit tired. Hearing that, the emo girl announces that she will be the one taking charge in the next floor. The hero is confused because she had just said he needed to grow by fighting alone. In any case, they decide to kill the remaining monster and move on since they have rested enough. During the shift, Ban closes his eyes and checks his internal status. He is amazed by what he sees and realizes that with his current level, he has already reached the Academy's average. Even though he only swung his sword for a short while, his swordsmanship and piercing technique are already improving. With a sparring match coming up in a few days, he decides he should focus on developing his sword skills further. He also reflects on the large gap between his strength and erectos, which exceeds 200 points, and admits that closing such a gap in just 1 week is nearly impossible. Still, after learning martial arts from Dako, he has gained some clues. He understands that gaining abilities is important, but practicing them is just as crucial. This makes him wonder if he should ask her to teach him one more thing, but then he stops himself, realizing that depending on her for everything might tip the balance of their relationship. While he is busy thinking, the blonde guy shouts out to him asking what he is doing. As he looks up, he and Ruchel are already falling from above. Shocked, he wonders what is happening and why the ground beneath them has disappeared. Looking down, our boy sees countless sharp spears waiting below and quickly summons Eve in its chain form, which catches the pink-haired girl before she can fall onto the spears. She is shaken but safe, and Ban breathes in relief, realizing how close it was. The girl thanks him, while he looks around and wonders what just happened. Ban suspects this might be part of the shift but is surprised by the size of the room and the number of traps. Suddenly the emo girl calls out to him from nearby, telling him that he needs to move quickly. The hero looks up and is surprised to see her standing safely above. She warns him that if he keeps hanging there, he will die. Suddenly, more spears shoot out from both sides and attack him at once. Realizing he cannot just drop Ruchel, our boy quickly creates a circle and summons Lilith, pulling her away at high speed. Moments later, the area where he stood is filled with arrows. He catches the girl in his arms and asks if she is all right. As she blushes and struggles to respond, the hero apologizes for handling the situation that way, but says it was too dangerous to do anything else. She reassures him that everything is fine. He tells her to hold on tightly from behind as they move, noticing more arrows coming their way. Somewhere else, we see the blonde guy getting attacked by a bunch of spinning axes. Suddenly, golden wings appear, and he takes to the air, slicing apart every incoming weapon. He wonders what is going on, since their teacher clearly said traps would not appear until the 20th room, yet they are only in the 3rd. The difficulty seems far too high. At the same time, he notices the hero riding away on his hoverbike with Ruchel and wonders what he pulled out this time. Ban continues dodging traps, but somehow they keep appearing no matter where he goes. Sitting back with him, the girl remembers what he told her earlier and holds him tightly from behind. This makes our boy blush as he feels his back grow warm. Just then, a heavy strike lands on his hoverbike Lilith, causing it to speed up even more. The hero knows that the situation is getting out of hand since the spears and knives following them don't seem to stop. Just then, he notices a golden light attracting all of those spears. When he stops to look, he realizes that it's his friend. The hero is confused by his wings and asks him what those are. Instead of answering, the guy asks him a question of his own regarding the strange thing he is riding. Ban explains that it is a hoverbike and asks if this is his first time seeing it in action as well. Light is puzzled by the name, but the hero brushes the topic aside and instead asks where Dako is. The blonde guy realizes that he has not seen her since they fell into the trap and wonders if she might have been caught somewhere. Our boy dismisses the idea, confident that she would not be trapped so easily and must be nearby. Meanwhile, we see the emo girl moving skillfully through the area, dodging trap after trap. The rest of the group continues moving forward. While flying, the blonde guy asks the hero what they should do next. Our boy explains that according to the manual, they simply need to survive for a certain amount of time, though he does not know how long that will be. For now, he suggests moving to the other side so he can analyze the traps. His friend agrees and dashes off. A volley of arrows fires at once, and Ban notices that the traps seem to be targeting Light specifically. He begins to suspect that the traps activate based on movement and realizes they should not have moved so recklessly earlier. Just then, the pink-haired girl taps him on the shoulder and points to one of the arrows stuck in the hoverbike. This makes the hero furious, and he pulls out the arrow thinking that he should warn everyone not to make unnecessary movements. But then he wonders how they can clear the room if they stop moving entirely. Suddenly, something strange happens with the arrow, and Ban realizes he has absorbed something from it. He is confused because his ability did not work on the first floor and starts suspecting that there must be a reason for it. To test it out, he reaches toward a nearby sword and absorbs it as well. What he absorbs is not a sword concept, but something called beheading. The hero is puzzled, but then he remembers that sometimes an object's appearance differs from its true nature. While he is distracted, Ruchel suddenly points toward Light, who is being washed by a huge wave. With his entire body soaked in water, the blonde guy starts blaming himself for lowering his guard. It seems like something has been mixed in the water as he can feel his senses fading, and his vision is becoming blurry. Suddenly, more traps activate around him and begin targeting him directly. Realizing he will not be able to react, our boy rushes in on his bike. He sets the pink-haired down and apologizes in advance for what he is about to attempt, calling it a risky move. The girl agrees, but still asks him to stay strong because she knows how dangerous it is. As our boy rushes forward, he touches the water and realizes that what he absorbed is not water, but the concept of wave. He finally understands why earlier he absorbed the concept of beheading, rather than sword. The meaning of each trap depends on its purpose and context. The attacks aimed at his neck carried the concept of beheading, not just weaponry. The emo girl watches from above as he speeds toward the blonde guy, wondering what he is planning to do. Ban reflects that the concepts behind the traps change depending on how they are used. Since the attacks targeted his neck, they carried the essence of beheading. Now, countless weapons rush toward his friend at once. The hero tells him that he will handle it and pushes forward, trusting his evolving skill that allows him to see beyond appearances. His friend shouts when he notices him charging straight towards the incoming weapons. However, the hero is confident since he can see the intent behind every single weapon being shot out of the trap. He activates his technique, releasing energy and forming a circular field in front of the incoming weapons. Standing in the center, he absorbs and mixes their essence together, not needing to absorb everything completely but just enough to break their form. With a sudden shock, all the weapons shatter at once. A strong wind blows from the impact as everything disintegrates into the air. Ruchel catches some of the scattered particles in her hands and calls out happily as our boy lands safely. At the same time, his friend rushes over and checks if he is all right. Ban is relieved to see Light safe and admits the situation was extremely close. Noticing the glowing orb in his hands, the blonde guy questions what it. The hero mentions that he also isn't sure and guesses that it's probably all the weapons mixed together into one. This makes his friend wonder if he has awakened a new ability. Before our boy can answer, some more hidden traps get activated, catching them off guard. Just as they are about to get hit, the two girls arrive at incredible speed and destroy the incoming weapons in a single strike. After saving them, the emo girl warns that they'll get in serious trouble if they don't stop being careless. Still shocked from everything that just happened, the two of them thank the girls. Like always, the blonde guy and Dako start trash-talking each other while our boy watches from a distance. He thinks to himself that no matter what they say, they always come to help each other when things turn dangerous. To him, this proves their team works well together. The emo girl admits that she was waiting for the last moment to save them, so they are in her debt. Hearing this, Ban hopes that their sense of friendship isn't just an illusion. Soon, they are all teleported to room 4. The hero looks around and notes that the ceiling here is lower, at least meaning they will not have to worry about attacks coming from directly above. Suddenly, he fires his gun behind him and attacks a monster that appeared out of nowhere. He is surprised when he realizes the target is a spider. Light explains that it is a tower spider, a unique monster that can appear on any floor. Ban notices that his attacks have no effect on it at all, as the creature easily deflects everything. His friend adds that a tower spider's stats are randomized regardless of the floor, and his current weapon is not very effective against it. He suggests that Dako should step in now. The emo girl agrees, while our boy feels disappointed that such a strong monster has appeared so early. Seeing his reaction, the girl sighs, telling everyone to stay behind her and asks him to watch carefully. She demonstrates the exact technique he has been searching for, an energy blast. The girl fires directly at the spiders, and the attack wipes out most of them in a single strike. The hero is stunned, realizing the blast is even stronger than his bullets. After knocking out most of the spiders, she lets our boy deal the finishing blows. Ban is a bit confused at first, but she laughs and comments that there isn't a ruler more merciful than her. The hero laughs in surprise and asks his friends to cover him. As he moves forward, he reflects that Doko is not his leader, yet she is far more perceptive than he expected. The spiders advance toward him, and although he feels overwhelmed, he also feels grateful for everything he has learned so far. Light and Ruchel watch with concern as his hands tremble slightly after his attack. His blade fails to pierce the spider's tough body, and the creature leaps toward him in anger. Ban regains his balance and reminds himself that no matter how tough the enemy is, there are always multiple ways to defeat it. Using the same technique he learned earlier, he thrusts his sword into the spider's head. Even then, he realizes that simply slashing directly is not enough, especially with so many spiders around him. This makes him realize that he might have taken on more of a task than he can handle. Just then, something clicks in his hand, and he remembers the concept of chop that he absorbed in the previous room. Recognizing this as the perfect opportunity, he integrates that concept into his sword and prepares to test the compatibility. Suddenly, multiple system notifications appear informing him that the sword has evolved due to excellent compatibility. With this, our boy rushes forward at the spiders and swings his sword cleanly through one of them. His friends watch in shock as they witness him cutting one of the spiders in half. Even though Ban made a clean cut, he feels something weird with his sword and wonders if he went a bit too hard. Deciding to try again, he takes a fighting stance and begins cutting the spiders. The others recognize that he needs help and rush forward. Meanwhile, the emo girl watches all of this in silence and thinks to herself if he did something to his sword while fighting the spiders. A moment ago, he could not even touch the spiders yet. Now he seems to have no problem slicing through them. She is amazed at how capable he is, and how he continues refining his skill without relying purely on raw power. Most people who gain stronger weapons end up swinging them carelessly, but Ban shows no such flaw. Even if he has not fully reached the essence of his ability yet, she believes he will get there on his own. The girl feels she has no reason to interfere in his journey, yet at the same time, letting his potential go to waste would be a shame. After overcoming 3 great calamities in her own world, she managed to get the title of the greatest prodigy in the martial arts world. Seeing someone with talent that puts her past at shame makes her frustrated. At that moment, she decides that no matter what, she must make him her own. At that moment, our boy suddenly feels a chill run down his back and looks around cautiously. The blonde guy asks what happened, but the hero says it felt like an elite monster might be approaching. He then notices the emo girl standing nearby and wonders why she is not using her energy blast. She replies that he seems to be handling things just fine on his own. Hearing this, he jokes that if that is the case, maybe he does not need to share his special drink with her after all. As he runs off with the drink, Light receives an external message. The next moment, that same message appears on everyone's screen, which makes them confused. The message, apparently from the headmaster, instructs them to leave the tower immediately. The hero wonders what is going on and asks if the message is meant for all the students. Meanwhile, Dako complains that she didn't even get the chance to warm up and have that sweet drink. Suddenly, they all hear Ruchel screaming that something is coming. As the group turns to her in shock, they notice multiple red portals opening in front of them with spiders crawling out. Seeing this, they realize why the headmaster was telling them to leave. Light remembers hearing about a situation like this during their meeting with Professor Yumina. Their student IDs are also not working, which means that they are trapped in this room. As countless spider monsters charge towards them, the hero remembers when their professor talked about a situation inside the tower where they could actually die. It's called spatial irregularity, and it occurs when dimensional pirates are invading. In their meeting with the professor, she explained to them that in a situation like this, the rooms become irregular and unpredictable. Even though they can't die while exploring the tower regularly, it changes when such irregularities occur. All the rules inside the tower get twisted, and there are no safe zones. Moreover, the number of monsters and the difficulty of each room spikes unpredictably. This means that they can't assume they'll be completely safe inside the tower. Remembering all of this, our boy realizes just how dangerous their situation is. The group breaks through a nearby wall in order to enter a more open space. They don't know how many spiders they are going to face, which means that they couldn't hold out in a cramped space. As the pink-haired girl enters her berserk state, Dako notices that the spiders almost seem endless. Suddenly, a blue light flashes in front of the spiders as she launches an energy blast at them. Light follows with a series of sword slashes. Both of them keep attacking without pause and continue destroying spiders one after another. The emo girl has already taken down dozens of spiders, and Light is also exhausted from the constant fighting. Meanwhile, Ruchel's hair has turned more than half black, and she's speaking far less than before. If her hair turns completely black, it may lead to a nightmare scenario. Dako looks at the pink-haired girl and realizes that the beast inside her is slowly going out of control. She admits that she cannot keep fighting like this for much longer and needs a break soon, or the situation will become even more dangerous. Ban quickly gives her a drink and urges her to rest while he handles the enemies for a while. She accepts the drink with a laugh, clearly amused at his confidence. Without hesitation, our boy prepares a bomb, pulls the pin, and throws it toward the spiders. Lightning crackles around it before it explodes violently among the swarm. The blonde guy is shocked by the power of the blast, while the hero proudly mentions that it took a lot of effort to craft. He then speeds toward the spiders on his bike, and tells Light to take a break. Looking at Ruchel, he notices that she still has energy, but she seems too unpredictable in her current state. Monsters keep appearing endlessly, and he knows the best option is to buy time for his teammates to recover. Suddenly, a system message appears beside him, stating that the blood poison effect of his execution longsword has increased, and his blade turns red. The hero does not fully understand what the blood poison is based on, but he decides to test it. With a swing of his sword, he slices through spiders from a distance, realizing that the weapon's range has increased greatly. The blood poison seems to extend his attack range and power, but it drains his stamina heavily. Each swing feels as if he is donating blood, and he senses that he cannot keep using it for long. The blonde guy notices the change in his weapon and wonders what has happened. Turning back, Ban asks them about the pink-haired girl, and they mention that she is busy destroying those spiders. Considering her current state, they decide not to approach her. The hero tells the two of them to rest for a bit more, but his friend refuses, telling him that he has already rested enough. He then looks around and notices that the number of spiders around them has decreased. This is strange because it does not seem like the portals have closed. Hearing this, Light mentions that it can either suggest that the battle is over or they are about to face an even greater threat. As Ruchel continues fighting, she suddenly senses a powerful aura originating from one of the portals. Turns out, the blonde guy was correct as we see a giant spider emerging from one of the portals. Ban is shocked, since such large monsters are supposed to appear only after the 50th room. Before they can process it, Light notices something else and warns him. When the hero turns around, he is almost in disbelief to see another giant spider. The group realizes that they are in the worst situation possible, as they are being surrounded by two elite monsters from front and back. Seeing this, the blonde guy begins to doubt whether anything they learned in school truly matches reality. At the same time, the pink-haired girl seems to completely lose control and charges blindly at the spiders. Instead of trying to stop her, Ban realizes that it's probably for the best. He quickly shouts for his friend to help her take down the spider while he teams up with the emo girl to eliminate the second one. After splitting his group, our boy stands in front of the giant spider wondering what he should do next. Even though he confidently ordered his teammates, he isn't sure if his combination of chop and blood poison will even work on a monster like this. While he stands there thinking, Dako calls out to him from behind and reminds him that she is also fighting the monster with him. Even though he knows he can't win, he is still refusing to ask for her help, which makes her wonder if it's his pride or he is just stupid. Tossing the drink back to him, she comments that it wasn't that bad. Now it is time for her to repay him for the drink. She admits that the thing she is about to show him might be a bit excessive for just a drink, but she won't add it to his debt. The hero watches as she draws her sword and wonders why she is doing this, since she can easily achieve the same result with her bare hands. The girl notices him staring at her and casually mentions that she just doesn't want her hands to get dirty, so she is using her sword. Ban feels flustered and silently apologizes in his mind. Dako then thinks that the hero lacks only one key move. She decides to show him a technique just once, believing that a single slash will be enough for him to find the answers he needs. As she tells him to watch carefully, our boy suddenly gets distracted by the sound of his friend screaming. He turns around to notice Ruchel attacking Light instead of the spider. It seems like her berserk form has completely taken over and she can no longer differentiate friends from foe. While the two of them are fighting, the giant spider suddenly releases its web. The pink-haired girl leaps away in time, causing Light to get entangled. Our boy watches as she starts fighting the spider once again and thinks to himself that everything is falling apart. At the same time, the emo girl calls him out and reminds him to focus on her technique. Ban explains that he was looking at the spider behind them, but she assures him that it's fine and swings her sword. With just a single strike, she manages to cut the giant spider in half. The hero recalls her swing and notices that it's just a simple movement swinging the sword upwards. However, in that movement, he managed to witness death that divides the world. System messages flood his vision, and his head begins to ache from the overload. He is left speechless after witnessing her skill. Simply observing her martial technique causes his inner core level to rise rapidly. The power he just saw reminds him of the moment when Ortima's force field once shattered in another battle, only this seems like an even more advanced version. It feels like a power that can slice through the concept of death itself. Ban wonders how someone can fuse such overwhelming will into a single sword strike. The clarity of what he has just witnessed both amazes and terrifies him. While he is lost in thought, the emo girl moves close to him and asks if he truly saw what she showed him. Standing so near makes him flustered, and he awkwardly tries to keep his composure. She hands him the core dropped by the elite monster she defeated, and tells him it is his reward, encouraging him to accept it without hesitation. The hero feels unsure about taking it since she was the one who defeated the monster, but she insists. Before he can respond properly, Light shouts from the web, telling them to stop flirting and help immediately. Turns out that the pink-haired girl has killed the giant spider, but she is still out of control. Ban realizes that his friend is in no state to handle her, and admits that he himself would be defeated instantly if he tried. In this situation, only the emo girl can stop her. Dako initially resists, claiming she has already done enough in this fight. However, the hero insists that the situation is abnormal and extremely dangerous. If anyone dies here, they don't know what will happen to them. She notices the spider still moving nearby and finally agrees to step in. In exchange, she asks Ban to finish off the spider beneath Rukel's feet. Before our boy can agree, she uses her ability to provoke the girl, asking her to come down. It works well, and the pink-haired girl pounces at her like a wild animal. Still, the emo girl manages to dodge her attack and continues mocking her. As the fight continues, it becomes clear that Dako holds the advantage despite the pink-haired girl being in her berserk form. She even tells the girl to stop attacking blindly and encourages her to keep fighting without losing consciousness. Watching this, Ban is astonished at how effortlessly she is controlling a beast, almost as if she is enjoying the challenge. Noticing him standing there, she reminds him that it's not the time to be distracted. The hero acknowledges it, but he's not sure if he can handle the giant spider on his own. Dako tells him that he just needs to repeat what she did to the other spider. This makes our boy even more worried, since she is expecting too much from him. Just then, the weakened spider suddenly lashes out at him with one of its legs. Ban barely avoids the attack and realizes that even though the creature is near death, it is still attacking him. He wonders if the spider really thinks it can defeat him. Deciding not to hesitate any longer, our boy prepares to strike back. He calls out to Eve, and chains begin to emerge from different portals. They wrap around the giant spider's legs one by one until the creature is completely restrained and unable to move. Light watches in shock, realizing that the spider has been fully bound. The emo girl turns back after hearing him, while Ban quickly rushes forward to attack the trapped monster. Even though the spider is restrained, it still lashes out with its legs, trying to strike him. Our boy skillfully dodges each attack and moves closer, thinking that since Eve has already held the creature in place, fighting it should now be easier. He decides to enhance his blade by adding slash and poison effects before closing in on a spot where he can land a decisive cut. After getting closer, the hero strikes near the spider's mouth, and the creature screams in pain. However, it doesn't seem like it was enough to kill the giant spider. The emo girl realizes that the attack was too shallow since he needs to split off the spider's head in order to kill it. Our boy begins to wonder why his slash was so short. Suddenly, he realizes that the blood poison in his sword didn't activate. He understands that using multiple abilities at the same time has reduced their effectiveness, something he has never tried before. As he processes this, the spider breaks through the chains and attacks the spot where he stands. His friends watch in worry as the entire area gets filled with dust. However, once it clears, Ban is revealed to have deflected the blow with his sword. He collapses to one knee, gripping his arm and breathing heavily. In that instant, he felt as if time had slowed down, giving him just enough awareness to redirect the attack's angle. Had he taken it head-on, both his sword and his limbs would have shattered. Still, he wonders how he sensed the timing so perfectly. It felt as though, for a brief moment, everything around him slowed down. This makes him question if he really absorbed the concept from Dako's technique earlier. Suddenly, a system message appears, informing him that while deflecting the enemy's attack, he has realized and mastered the concept of flow, raising its depth to level 5. The hero understands that the emo girl's strike helped him awaken a new martial awareness he did not know he possessed. Even if he cannot replicate her exact technique, he now knows what to do. With this, our boy prepares to face the spider again and invites it to attack. The blonde guy watches this and realizes that Ban is basically parrying every single attack. It's a technique that allows a person to deflect or redirect an enemy's attack to create an opening. In real combat, such a technique is extremely dangerous and difficult to use, yet the hero managed it despite claiming he had never even used a sword before. Moving forward while deflecting every blow, our boy focuses on redirecting frontal attacks and altering the direction of strikes from the sides. Gradually, he grows more confident and starts seeing every single attack one by one. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl charges at Dako, but none of her attacks can touch her. She sidesteps calmly, causing her to stumble. Watching the hero fight, she realizes that her earlier strike helped him awaken something deeper. The martial art of controlling flow exists in her world too, though very few master it. Redirecting an opponent's attack at the very last microsecond requires extreme reaction speed and focus. It also carries too much risk and effort, so most people try going for easier techniques. Even someone like her who has practiced this very technique thoroughly, it's an entirely new perspective. This makes the emo girl wonder if this trick was always so profound, even though she thought it was basic. While she is busy admiring our boy, the pink-haired girl starts to come back to her senses. Dako turns back to her and thanks her for pointing out her unsightly side. Still, she knows that the hero won't simply by redirecting all the attacks. To win, he must go further and turn the enemy's force into his own counterattack. If he can redirect the spider's strength and combine it with his own, he can deliver a decisive blow. Acting on this understanding, Ban rotates with the incoming attack and channels the spider's power into his strike. His blade lands a massive cut across the spider's head, splitting it in half. Both of his friends are shocked to realize that he has actually managed to pull it off. With this attack, the giant spider finally goes down and dies. Exhausted, our boy sits down as system messages flood in, granting him concepts and rewards for defeating the monster. His internal core level rises, and he can hardly believe he has done it. As his stats increase, he senses that a major change is occurring in the internal code. His friend then calls out to him asking if he is done with the spider since he also needs some help. At the same time, the emo girl asks him to take care of Ruchel. Slightly annoyed, our boy comments that they are expecting too much from him, even though he barely managed to kill an elite monster. The blonde guy apologizes, explaining that he hasn't been able to use his magic since he was trapped. Meanwhile, Dako admits that the beast has too much stamina and wishes she had been tied up like their dumb teammate. Hearing this, our boy realizes that this might actually be a good idea. He decides to observe the concept behind the chain's binding light and considers feeding that concept to Eve so he can use it himself. Once the chain net is complete, Ban throws it toward the enraged pink-haired girl. She is startled as it rushes at her and becomes completely entangled. The hero explains that struggling will not help her escape because the chains will slowly absorb her magic. Seeing her trapped leaves both Ban and Light feeling awkward, and his friend even covers his eyes, insisting he should not look. The emo girl then tells them to stop worrying about that and focus on the fact that everything here seems to be over. However, it still doesn't seem like the shift to the fifth room is happening. Thanks to the chains, the pink-haired girl slowly starts regaining her senses. Moreover, their student IDs are also working again, so they decide it's time to leave. Just then, a red-colored energy begins to gather nearby, and a mysterious voice calls out to them. All four of them are surprised. The voice acknowledges that they have overcome the trial and offers them an opportunity to form a contract with the Observer of the Thousand Eyes. The scene then shifts outside the tower where Professor Yumina waits anxiously, worried because her students still haven't returned from the tower. Suddenly, a teleportation circle appears, forcing her to shield herself from the light. Moments later, all four of them emerge from the tower. After teleporting, Ban checks on everyone, and they confirm they are fine. The teacher rushes over, relieved to see them, and anxiously checks whether they are hurt or affected by anything. The hero reassures her that everyone is safe and asks her to calm down. Professor Yumina explains that a message had been sent out for everyone to return, so she was extremely worried when none of them came back. When she asks what happened inside, the hero gets nervous and suggests they keep walking for a bit. After moving somewhere else, he explains everything that went on inside and questions what was going on the outside. The teacher lowers her head and admits that a student was killed by an outsider. Even though the academy is trying to resolve this issue, the students who were in the same party are devastated. The irregularities inside the tower occurred because of this. She then reminds them of their conversation about dimensional pirates, explaining that if they kill a student and take their ID, the student can't revive and will be trapped inside the tower forever. Our boy asks her what happened to the intruder, and she replies that they escaped after causing the incident. Hearing this, the emo girl comments that it sounds like everything was carefully planned. Even if those pirates are not academy students, many such intruders try to climb the tower. New students entering the tower create the perfect opportunity for them. By killing academy students, they can damage the academy's prestige and obtain qualifications to climb the tower themselves, along with student IDs as proof. The academy, however, tends to treat fighting these pirates as just another trial that new students must overcome, placing all responsibility on them. She questions how acceptable that is. Even the professor is speechless listening to all of this because she knows it's the truth. The girl continues, adding that there are people who break all the rules to invade the tower, yet the academy still can't stop them from killing their students despite being considered the best institution across dimensions. Responding to her harsh criticism, the professor insists that the Union Academy does have a duty to protect its students. However, once they enter the tower, it becomes their own responsibility. If the tower itself chooses to favor the pirates over the students, there is nothing the academy can do, because it is the will of the tower. This explanation angers Dako, who dislikes the idea of leaving everything to the tower's will. She uses her student ID to teleport away before the professor can stop her. Ban tries to make her understand, explaining that there was something unsettling inside the tower. He reveals that before they returned, they encountered one of the constellations. We learn that constellations are transcendental observers who watch over many dimensions. When they find someone useful, they offer contracts, granting powerful magic, special abilities, artifacts, and other benefits in exchange for loyalty and certain demands. Very few people refuse such offers, especially in a world where power is everything. These constellations are extremely attractive partners, and almost no one turns them down. The hero explains that the constellation spoke to him in a strange voice and offered power in exchange for fulfilling its demands. Instead of reacting with fear, the professor becomes excited. She says that meeting a constellation on the very first day in the tower is unprecedented in the Academy's history. Encountering one so early means his talent has already been recognized. Ban is taken aback by her reaction, and she confirms cheerfully that this is indeed a sign of exceptional potential. The hero then asks what the Academy thinks about forming contracts with constellations. The professor admits that officially the Academy believes in natural growth, but if a student receives such an opportunity, the Academy encourages them not to waste it. In this dimension, the tower is the place where constellations focus their attention the most, and climbing it is extremely attractive to them. Hearing this, our boy feels uneasy since he finds it hard to trust an institution that cannot fully defend its students from intruders, yet still maintains friendly ties with mysterious beings about whom little is known. The professor then asks what exactly the constellation demanded from him. With a serious expression, our boy reveals that it asked for murder. This makes the professor shocked, and he further explains that the being offered to form a contract with two of them. If one of them killed the other first, that person would be chosen. The voice in the tower spoke about those with hot blood and great potential, urging them to cut down their companion and offer the sacrifice in exchange for becoming a favored partner until reaching the top of the tower. Our boy internally rejects the idea, finding it absurd and disgusting to kill friends for a bit of power. However, as he glances at the emo girl, he notices that something is wrong with her. Dark energy begins to gather around her, and she tells the constellation to leave her alone and go away. Hearing all this, Professor Yumina concludes that she must have released a large amount of energy at that moment. Ban confirms that she forced the constellation to withdraw, and reflects that these beings treat people like toys and test them in cruel ways, which he finds revolting. Because of the danger, the professor announces that no one will be allowed into the tower for a week, while the Academy monitors it and searches for intruders. Ban thinks about his upcoming duel and realizes that with the tower closed, he must focus on training during the limited time he has. He tells the teacher that he wants to submit a full report of everything that happened inside. She agrees, but says she would also prefer to hear it directly from all of them when possible. However, she can see that everyone is physically and mentally exhausted, so she decides to let them rest. Understanding that they went through a lot, she praises them for doing well and assures them she will try to prevent such incidents from happening again. The professor hopes they will not think too poorly of the Academy and reminds them to get plenty of rest. As the group prepares to leave, the teacher calls the hero back for a moment. She asks him directly whether the observer of all sight simple chose two people from their group or it deliberately chose him and Dako for the contract. The hero freezes in shock as he hears this, since she is probably right. He realizes that the constellation wasn't trying to pit them against each other, but simply telling him and the emo girl to get rid of the useless members from their group. In return, it promised to fulfill their true potential and make them climb to the top of the tower. Back at the dormitory, our boy notices Light still curled up on the couch, so he tries to joke around, commenting that not even Ruchel can pull off a pose like that. After getting no response from the guy, he decides to move on, but his friend suddenly asks if he is teasing him for sitting unmanly. When the hero reacts in confusion, the blonde guy admits that he was just trying to vent, so if he wants to insult him, if he can do it freely. Still confused, our boy rejects it, which makes the guy smile as he sarcastically asks if he is not even worth insulting. Ban can't figure out what is going on since the blonde guy is usually so full of himself. Looking up, Light admits that he hates him. This makes our boy a bit irritated and he is really tempted to say something mean, but he holds back, trying not to escalate the situation. Sitting down with his friend, he encourages him to say whatever is on his mind, even if it's a complaint. After a moment of silence, his friend explains that in the world he comes from, he was known as a prodigy. His family and others constantly praised his talent, and he was entrusted with a holy sword. Before he left, people told him to gain the tower's power and become the final guardian who would protect everyone. Because of everyone's expectations, he formed a contract with the sword and came to the Academy to fulfill their wishes. However, he now feels lost, wondering what he is even doing here and why he is being treated like a burden. Hearing this, the hero tells him not to take the words of that divine being seriously. Light responds that whether the being is divine or not, it chose the two of them, not him. He feels like an extra weight beside those who were selected. Light also points out that transcendental beings possess overwhelming strength and knowledge far beyond humans, so rejecting their offer seems difficult to understand. Our boy insists that the offer is clearly wrong. There must be many ways to become strong without killing anyone, and neither of them should listen to such nonsense. Light argues that the hero can think that way only because he has overwhelming talent. If he himself had received that offer, he might have hesitated at the demand to sacrifice them all, but he wouldn't be able to reject it as firmly as him or Dako. This means that deep down, he could actually make that sacrifice, which makes him hate himself. After talking to him, our boy takes a shower and returns to see him asleep on the bed. As he quietly prepares to leave, the blonde guy apologizes for what he said earlier, admitting he spoke out of jealousy and that it was not really his fault. The hero smiles and reassures him that they are friends, so he can say such things anytime. He tells Light he is stepping out for a bit and leaves some hot chocolate behind, saying that something sweet might help clear away unpleasant feelings. Light thanks him as Ban leaves the room. Outside, our boy reflects on how much his friend has changed since they first met. At the same time, the emo girl notices him from across the hallway. While the hero is busy thinking about Light, she immediately appears in front of him and startles him. Ban asks her what she is doing in the men's dormitory, but she tells him to keep quiet since it won't be a problem if no one finds out. With this, she forcefully grabs him using the towel and takes him outside. As the two of them sit outside, she asks him about the blonde guy while referring to him as the burden. Hearing this, our boy asks her if she is calling him that. The emo girl bluntly lists Light's flaws, claiming that he only knows how to swing his sword and lacks real talent or adaptability. Ban defends him, saying he has swordsmanship skills and will gain more abilities with time. However, the girl counters that most of his strength comes from the sword itself. His strong body, sharp techniques, and special abilities are all tied to it. Without the sword, she thinks he would be useless. She continues listing his weaknesses, saying he struggles to understand situations, lacks confidence, and often freezes at crucial moments. As the hero listens, she explains that in such a serious situation, if the blonde guy loses his spirit, everything could fall apart, and there won't be any point in being together. Moreover, Ruckle is also not saying anything, which makes it worse. The hero wonders whether she is insulting the guy or actually worried about him. After a moment of silence, he asks about her instead, noting that she also behaved strangely when she met the divine being and seemed irritated afterward. The girl becomes flustered and asks whether he is worried about her and whether he used some ability to figure it out. Ban calmly replies that he does not need any special ability since her face makes it obvious. He hands her a cup and simply asks if she is okay. Dako takes the cup and realizes he is trying to comfort her. She comments that the drink is sweeter than she expected and thanks him for worrying about her. However, she claims it's nothing serious and she was just irritated back then. When the hero asks what caused that irritation, she explains that as an observer of countless worlds, she can't help but wonder if both of them have the same idea. Hearing this frightens our boy and he asks her what she means. The emo girl mentions that the essence of their ideas is the same. If she thought her teammates were useless, she might have decided to get rid of them. Our boy can't believe she is saying this and asks her what she is talking about. Dako admits that it's making her frustrated because if she only had been a bit more radicalized, even if she didn't kill her useless teammates directly, she might have left them behind to die. That realization makes her angry at herself. After hearing her admit that such a possibility could exist, Ban finishes his hot chocolate and turns toward her. He concludes that if she can agree with that harsh logic, then she must also be foolish in her own way. His words catch her off guard and make her blush as she thinks that she has just revealed one of her deepest thoughts. Yet this is the reaction she receives. The girl then questions whether Ban truly believes the others have talent. The hero answers with complete confidence, explaining that if they lacked talent, they would never have made it this far. He says that Light clearly has natural skill with the sword, though relying too heavily on the holy blade has prevented him from realizing how dangerous that dependence could become. Rukril is also in a similar situation. She possesses ridiculous physical strength and potential, but her inner struggles keep that power from being properly controlled. None of this will be easy, he admits, but if they face their weaknesses and correct their mistakes on their own, their abilities will eventually grow far beyond anything either he or Dako can imagine. The emo girl remains silent for a moment after hearing this. She then stands up from the bench and says that she will trust him for now. If they train and the results speak for themselves, she will accept whatever outcome appears. The hero asks if that means she is willing to help. The girl replies that if the two of them truly overcome their struggles and grow stronger, she will admit that he was right. However, if the results disappoint her, he will have to take full responsibility. Ban is stunned by this condition. As she prepares to leave, she tells him to think about this more carefully since he is making her set aside her own judgment and spend time with those fools. Before he can say anything, the girl jumps away, telling him that she will see him tomorrow morning. Our boy can't believe she wants to start training tomorrow even though they just came back from the tower today. As he arrives at the training ground the next day, he is shocked to see her sparring with the blonde guy. Suddenly, the girl punches Light and sends him flying towards the hero. The guy looks badly beaten and calls out to our boy, complaining that he promised to teach him something, yet he is the one getting hit non-stop. Ban struggles to respond, while the emo girl slams her foot on the ground in irritation and calls him foolish. She explains that this is physical training, so getting hit is only natural. He is not someone who can improve simply by watching once like the hero can, so he must stop crying, stand up, and prepare himself. The blonde guy begs for his sword back, but she refuses, telling him that he will not get it until he learns how to fight properly without it. Ban steps in and encourages the guy to trust them and try training without overthinking. He admits to himself that he did not expect things to go this way but believes it is necessary. Light decides to trust his friend and tries again. The moment they resume, Dako delivers a swift kick that hits him directly in the face. She points out that he left himself completely open with no defense at all. While beating the crap out of him, she continues criticizing his stance and tells him to focus on observing every incoming attack with his eyes. The blonde guy tells her that he already knows this, but she kicks him away, saying that if he knows it, he should have fixed it already. She even mocks him for not having any reflexes without his sword. The hero realizes she is right. Normally his friend is strong enough to handle dangerous enemies with ease, but now his strength has dropped significantly. It seems as though his power is leaking away without the sword. If that is the case, his condition is worse than he originally thought. Meanwhile, the girl keeps attacking and asks whether his identity is nothing more than that sword. When Light denies it, she presses further, saying that without the weapon he is useless. He insists that is not true, so she tells him to prove it and face her properly instead of searching for the sword that is not in his hand. At that moment, the blonde guy suddenly shouts. His appearance begins to change and his hair grow longer as a surge of power erupts from him. He throws a powerful punch toward the girl and she barely manages to dodge. The rest of the group watches in shock as they realize that their friend has turned into a girl. The emo girl watches silently for a moment, then starts to speak, but suddenly a large amount of energy gathers around Light. A glowing cross forms near his chest, shining intensely, and he drops to his knees. The hero rushes forward, but Dako stops him and assures him that he is fine, though this is not something that can be fixed easily. With his body still burning from all the energy, the blonde guy returns back to normal. Standing in front of him, the emo girl asks if he understands what is happening to him. Light admits that he does and says that they were right. He cannot continue like this much longer. He asks her if they can continue fighting a little longer. The emo girl begins by saying that she wants to apologize because she misunderstood him earlier. Light responds indirectly that there is no need for an apology, since the training is actually helping him. Dako admits that she initially thought he was just a clueless idiot, but now she realizes that he is more like an idiot carrying a dangerous bomb within himself. She hopes that this bomb does not go off inside the tower. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl suggests to the hero that they should train as well. When he does not respond right away, she calls out to him again, but he is completely distracted by what he just saw. Holy and demonic spirits are completely opposite concepts, so he cannot understand how both could exist inside one body. He suspects that this contradiction is the reason for Light's current instability, and decides he will talk to him about it later in their room. Pausing his analysis, he apologizes to Ruchel for ignoring her earlier, explaining that he was lost in thought. She reassures him that everything is fine and suggests they start sparring too. Hearing this, our boy remembers her beast form and hesitates, wondering if that is really safe. The girl admits it might not be, but she reminds him that he has a way to stop her if she loses control. Ban is still a bit hesitant, but she declares that she wants to learn to control her power and become more helpful. The two of them move to the side where wooden practice swords lie. The hero notices that she seems unusually motivated today and suspects that yesterday's shocking events may have pushed her to try harder. He tosses her a wooden sword and suggests they spar in their own style without causing as much noise as the other two in their group. Ruchel agrees and promises to do her best. Before they begin, the hero thinks to himself that this kind of friendly sparring between a boy and a girl is something he always imagined during his college days. He feels lucky that this dream is slowly becoming real because of his friend. When she asks if she can start, he excitedly encourages her to attack any time. However, the moment she activates her beast mode, he becomes nervous. A few minutes later, the training ground fills with dust and loud noises from their clash. Ban eventually uses his pet to restrain her tightly, shouting for it not to let go no matter what. As she remains bound, her power gradually fades, and she returns to her senses. The girl rushes to Ban and asks if he is all right or injured. He reassures her that he is fine, though he looks completely exhausted from the fight. She apologizes repeatedly for hurting him, but he places a hand on her head and tells her not to worry. The hero reminds her that he promised to help her, and that he was prepared for this so she shouldn't feel so bad. At that moment, Dako walks over and comments sarcastically that while she has been training intensely, the two of them seem to be having a sweet and relaxed conversation. Our boy protests that nothing sweet is happening, and points out that he nearly died just now. The emo girl teases them anyway, hinting that perhaps the beast might have some other motives. This makes the pink-haired girl blush even more. Dako advises her to stop letting stray thoughts distract her during training, since that would be rude to her opponent. Ban notices how Ruchel, who had been so motivated earlier, became shy again in front of the emo girl. He reflects that she seems mentally fragile and probably has not had time to take care of her emotional health. Even so, he sees that she is trying her best. Our boy then turns to the rest of the group and reveals that he recently asked their professor whether he could take someone with him when leaving the floating island, and he has received permission. The emo girl is pleased hearing this and comments that she was feeling a bit cramped in the academy. To her shock, the hero completely ignores her and instead asks Ruchel to go with him. Not only that, Bro goes on to ask her on a date. Later we see our boy waiting in a clothing shop while on a call with his friends. He tells them that he will be back before evening, but still gets scolded because they are both jealous he didn't take them. While talking to them, he suddenly hears the pink-haired girl calling out to him. Our boy turns around to notice her in a beautiful dress, asking him if they look okay. She worries that the outfit shows off her figure too much. Our boy barely manages to hold back his emotions and comments that she looks stunning. This makes the emo girl even more jealous, and she threatens to punish the hero after he comes back. As they walk around the city, Ruchel is amazed by how large and lively it is. She never imagined such a big place existed outside the academy. Ban agrees, saying that even though this is his second visit, it still feels like his first time. He offers to show her the department store and mall area and walks forward. Before the girl can follow him, a large crowd forms around her, making it hard for her to move. She worries she might lose sight of the hero, but he quickly grabs her hand and apologizes for leaving her alone in such a crowded place. He suggests they hold hands so they do not get separated. The girl shyly agrees, and the two continue walking together through the busy streets. They walk from one place to another while eating and exploring. Both of them enjoy themselves as they move around the city. Later, they sit together in a restaurant and start eating. Ban wonders if she is really fine with the place since most of the food served there is monster meat. The girl actually likes that about it and happily eats, finding the food extremely delicious. Our boy also feels the meal is even better than he expected. The pink-haired girl never thought she would get to eat meat in the city like this, and she knows all of it is possible because of Ban. Suddenly, however, she grows quiet and looks troubled. The hero notices her expression and asks what is wrong, thinking maybe she does not like the food. She denies that and explains indirectly that she is simply overwhelmed. It is her first time in the city, and he bought her many things, and even treated her to such a wonderful meal. Yet she feels she has nothing she can do for him in return. Because of that, she wonders whether it is even right for her to feel this happy. The girl also admits she is not sure if she will ever be able to fully control her ability, even after everything he has done. Our boy listens quietly for a moment. Then he takes her hand and asks her to look at his own hand. He tells her that the emotions she is feeling right now are taking shape above his hand. Ruchel says she cannot see anything, but he asks her to imagine it anyway, explaining that not long ago, his ability could only sense her anger, but now it can perceive many different emotions. Simply by spending time together, he has started to pick up on those feelings. If they continue to grow closer and understand each other better, he believes they will find a solution to whatever problem she faces. Hearing all this, she asks whether he can see the worry she feels right now. The hero says he can, and then gestures as if breaking something in his hand, saying that the worry is gone. He promises again that he will make sure to deal with any problems she has and hopes she will simply enjoy the day without feeling she owes him anything in return. The girl agrees, thinking that it's fascinating how everything Ban says feels like magic and somehow always comes true. The hero comments that his words might feel a bit overwhelming to her, but she denies it. Instead, she says she would rather get to know him more closely, just like someone else. When he asks what she means, she clarifies that she is talking about Dako. The hero becomes nervous, thinking about how dangerous that girl can be and how she crushes everything with overwhelming force. Ruchel admits that while the emo girl may be scary, she seems to like him a lot. Our boy denies that and says it feels less like affection and more like someone waiting to sharpen a weapon. The pink-haired girl is surprised by that comparison and starts laughing. When he asks her if his analogy was strange, she admits that it made her feel a bit relieved. She always thought that he was too smart, but after hearing him talk, she feels like she can try harder. Before the hero can say anything, she takes his hand and suggests that they go. He has already bought many things for her, so she wants to buy some clothes for him in return. Ban agrees but tells her not to worry about money and to just enjoy their time together. As the two of them enjoy their time outside, things aren't looking this cheerful inside the academy. Professor Yumina sits in a meeting with the other teachers as they discuss the group's channel uploading videos from their tower exploration. The teachers are mad that precious information from inside the tower is being leaked through the video. As the meeting turns chaotic, one teacher turns to Professor Yumina and points out that the student's behavior has clearly crossed the line and broken academy rules. He asks her if she realizes this and whether she can take responsibility for the boy who keeps doing whatever he wants. We go back to a few hours earlier when the professor first saw that video. She sits alone in her office, shocked that that hero even managed to record inside the tower. When he first mentioned wanting to do that, she did not take it seriously because anything brought into the tower usually breaks due to the extreme mana pressure. It is common knowledge that items cannot function there, yet Ban has completely defied that common sense. She turns to the robot and mentions that he and his master have accomplished something incredible. The real issue is not just that he recorded inside the tower, but that he created a tool capable of functioning there at all. To her, that achievement is truly absurd and astonishing. However, it doesn't stop there, because when she talked to the hero, he told her that he wanted to publicly post this video on their channel. He understands that doing so will attract a lot of attention toward him, and may even create chaos among various groups, but he believes it is also a way to gain favor from the Academy's students. Professor Yumina wonders if he is truly certain about this decision. The information he gathered inside the tower required immense effort, and she questions whether he will regret revealing it to everyone. Ban explains that all the hard work will ultimately benefit the students as well. He points out that he is currently the only one capable of recording inside the tower, so it's almost like he can show whatever he wants. Certain sensitive parts, such as the conversation with the constellation that appeared before him, will be edited out, while the rest of the information will help others. The professor accepts his reasoning and inwardly admires him. She remembers warning him once about the unfair reality of the Academy, but never expected him to handle things in this way. Still, she advises him to be careful because there will be many rules and situations he must navigate. The hero agrees and says that this incident could cause both small and large changes. Because of that, he believes they need to stabilize their position within the Academy, and mentions that this will allow her to watch over them. Hearing this, she feels unexpectedly touched by his concern and admiration. She tells him that if he truly wants to stay safe, he should avoid taking such risky actions. Yet in her thoughts, she senses that what the hero is doing may become something significant, something that could reduce the gap between different dimensions. That realization makes her feel that she should trust and support him. Back in the staff meeting, she argues that making a video inside the tower is his personal matter and does not see why it should be considered a problem. She also questions why she should be held responsible for his actions. Professor Cantone smiles and remarks that she is quite skilled at hiding her true feelings. He suggests that it is obvious she cares deeply about that student. Another teacher named Talia from the Artifact Creation Department joins the discussion and asks the professor to be honest about who the boy really is. Yumina insists that he is simply a normal student who joined the Academy this year. The green-haired teacher refuses to accept that explanation and argues that if Ban were truly normal, this situation would not make sense. There should be limits to selfishness, and revealing such important information about the tower without consideration goes against Academy rules. The professor counters that the only reason recording inside the tower was impossible before is because they lacked the necessary technology. Now that someone has achieved it, the discussion should not be about rules, but about how to use this new ability. Cantone then asks her to explain this technology and ability clearly so that everyone can understand. Talia, who has worked in the field for 200 years, says that no items from outside the tower have ever functioned inside it. Recording equipment in particular should be impossible to operate there because the mana pressure inside the tower destroys any circuits. The more she researched the matter, the more convinced she became that no machine can work inside the tower. It is a law that cannot be broken. Yet Professor Yumina states that Ban has already proven otherwise. The other professor grows even more curious and wonders what is special about him. She questions whether he truly comes from a lower dimension without mana and why he alone seems exceptional. Suddenly she remembers the artifact used for recording and demands that it be brought to her so she can dismantle it and study its components. The professor firmly refuses, stating that the artifact is a student's achievement and she will not allow anyone to tamper with it, even though she was told to bring it along. Hearing this, the other teachers react loudly, accusing her of refusing to cooperate. At that moment, someone raises a hand and calls for calm. The atmosphere has become too heated, and everyone is told to remain silent until things settle down. The person speaking is Vice President Xenon. Once he intervenes, everyone quiets down. He thanks Talia for her 2 centuries of research and acknowledges that if someone with her experience considers the artifact extraordinary, then it must indeed be something remarkable. The professor admits she cannot fully explain it but insists it is special. The vice president then makes a startling claim. In short, he says that Ban is the only person in the world who has been recognized by the tower itself. The teachers react in disbelief, arguing that the hero entered the tower only once and comes from a lower dimension, so such recognition should be impossible. Xenon replies that whether they believe him or not is their choice, but there is another reason Ban is special. He asks Professor Yumina if there is anything else in the video she wishes to share from the video. The professor is surprised by this, and he explains that perhaps she is unaware, but the hero and the classmates who accompanied him were the only ones who have been chosen by the constellation. Hearing this revelation, Talia reacts with shock, realizing that this matter is far more extraordinary than anyone initially believed. The teachers are in disbelief that a boy who has entered the tower for the first time has already been chosen by a constellation. Professor Yumina responds that forming a contract with a constellation is a student's personal achievement, and such matters should not be discussed so casually. The vice president interrupts and asks her to tell the truth. He wants to know whether Ban or the students who were with him actually made a contract with a constellation. The professor wonders privately why the vice president is pushing the matter so far. She then states that neither the hero nor the others made any contract with a constellation. Hearing this, the vice president concludes that they must have refused the contract. He believes this makes them far from ordinary. Facing the pressure of a constellation is not easy, and it must have been extremely difficult for them to respond at all. If that is the case, he decides that the hero and all the students who were with him should attend his lecture. The other teachers are stunned. They point out that if none of those students made a contract with a constellation, then why should they receive the privilege of attending a senior-level class? The vice president explains that what matters is not whether they formed a contract with a constellation, but that they were chosen by one. Being selected alone proves how far they might go. Since they refused the contract, other constellations may now take interest in them as well. As a teacher who guides students chosen by constellations, he considers Ban to be one of his own students. The other professors can't really argue with this logic, so they hesitantly agree. The vice president then returns to the earlier topic about spreading the recordings from inside the tower. At present, there is no basis to place all the blame on that student. Questions about his abilities can be asked privately, but accusations are not appropriate. Professor Yumina realizes that the meeting is not really about how the hero should be treated, but about the president's intention. He is simply using the vice president to deliver his message. The vice president then gives a firm warning that if anyone tries to create trouble for that student during this process, both parties involved, whether student or teacher, will be expelled from the academy. With that, the meeting ends, and everyone is told to spend the remaining weekend peacefully. Professor Yumina is relieved since the hero now has the favor of the president. While she is sitting there, Professor Cantone approaches her and suggests celebrating the student's success with a drink, but she teleports away without responding, leaving everyone in confusion. The other professors feel bad for the guy and invite him for a drink. The next day, the hero carries his food toward his seat when a large crowd of students suddenly gathers around him. Many introduce themselves and try to talk to him at once. Some even try asking him out on a date. The overwhelming attention leaves Ban confused. Dako watches this from a distance and asks why so many people have gathered around him. Light explains that the video they uploaded from inside the tower has gone viral. Their channel has already surpassed 2 million subscribers, and it is now difficult to find anyone in the academy who has not seen it. The emo girl admits that she did not initially think recording the video was as impressive as his other abilities, but seeing everyone's reaction makes her realize how outstanding his ideas and skills truly are. Ruchel quietly observes her while watching the situation unfold. Our boy eventually reaches his seat with his food and wonders what is happening so early on a Monday morning. The pink-haired girl praises him for his work, while Light jokingly welcomes him to fame. Ban feels exhausted by the attention and says it is still better than watching them argue constantly. He reminds them that they also have fans and should treat anyone who approaches them kindly. Nearby, a few students whisper skeptically, claiming that the video must be fake, and question whether it even makes sense for someone to reach the fourth room of the tower so quickly. Some insist that people from lower dimensions often rely on tricks and predict that the truth will be exposed soon. Hearing this, the hero remembers that his duel is scheduled for the next day against the stone guy. He realizes many people are eagerly waiting to see him fail. His friends agree with him and worry about his fight, but the emo girl seems calm. She turns to our boy and simply asks him to try his best. The scene then shifts to the following day. Inside the arena, Ban stands facing the rock guy. The referee announces that the duel will be broadcast live on the school's official channel and asks both participants to confirm their agreement. They both accept, and a document is presented for them to sign. The hero reads the duel document and is shocked by what it implies. It states that the fight will continue until one of them can no longer continue, even if that means broken bones. While he is still going through the details, his opponent approaches and starts provoking him. The rock guy taunts him further, implying that he must be scared and suggesting that if he wants to surrender, he should crawl under his feet and bark like a dog. Hearing this, the our boy makes an odd expression, trying to understand what he means. Around them, others complain that people from the lower dimension have been causing trouble for a while and urge Erecto to break Ban's legs quickly. Ortama quietly watches, while our group checks the livestream viewer count and notice that most of the audience is insulting the hero. They point out how unfair it is that everyone is targeting him, yet they also believe this was bound to happen. With so many people watching, our boy has no choice but to prove himself, since he clearly has the talent to reach the top. Ban thinks to himself that he never expected to hear such humiliating words. He even compares the situation to something out of a low-quality novel. Looking back at the rock guy, he asks if he has been preparing hard to provoke him since the comment he just made actually worked. Erecto mocks him further and smirks, telling him that he won't be able to stay calm for longer. Hearing this, our boy walks a bit further and challenges him to find out for himself. This enrages the stone guy, who demands that the teacher start the match immediately because he wants to break Ban's limbs. The teacher nervously announces the start of the match between the rock guy from Class 1 and Ban from Class 11. Erecto immediately launches a powerful punch, rushing forward with confidence. However, our boy easily dodges the attack and uses a technique that creates a reverse movement, slipping behind the guy without him noticing. From there, he strikes the back of Erecto's head with his sword, dropping him to the ground in a single move. Ban reflects that the most effective way to handle a rock-like opponent is the reverse method, a technique he learned from Dako. The night after he and the pink-haired girl went on a date, she sat him down with the entire group and explained that mastering this method requires many trials and errors. It only becomes reliable after being tested against different opponents and techniques. In order to test it out, she hands him a wooden club and declares that she will try to hit him with different angles, speed, forms, and intentions. If he can manage to counter her attack even once, that stone guy will never be able to touch him. Our boy realizes that she was right even though she almost killed him during training. Erecto gets back up in confusion and asks what is going on, but he suddenly feels a sharp pain in his head and falls down again. Seeing this, our boy realizes that the technique is working well. Before attacking, he infused his sword with wave energy, which seems to transmit well within his rock body. This makes his opponent furious and he starts threatening him again. Our boy sits down in front of him and asks him if he can stop crying and attack already. Otherwise, he can just surrender here and end the fight. The rock guy can't take the disrespect anymore and tries attacking him, but the hero slides back in time. His entire body starts smoking as he shouts, calling Ban a lower dimension mongrel. Our boy realizes that the guy has almost lost it and begins to worry a bit. When Erecto prepares to attack again, it becomes clear that he is trying to kill the hero. Once again, our boy easily dodges and calls him a fool for going with the same technique. Since his opponent is not changing his moves, Ban also decides to counterattack using the same technique and slashes his arm in multiple pieces. The rock guy screams as his solid arm is slashes off like butter. Even the vice president is surprised watching this and realizes that it's just a one-sided match. Meanwhile, the rest of the viewers can't believe what they have just witnessed. Light mentions that they are in disbelief because the hero has grown so much stronger compared to when he first enrolled in the academy. Students in the crowd slowly begin to realize that the skills he showed in his videos were actually real. The referee is also frozen trying to figure out what just happened. Just a week ago, Ban seemed like an ordinary kid, but now he is almost unrecognizable. While he is thinking, he suddenly gets a message from the professor's assembly. Meanwhile, our boy stands in front of the rock guy and wonders what he should do next. Attacking someone on the ground seems a bit pathetic, so he prepares to force him to stand up. However, before he can do anything, the teacher raises his hand and announces that the match is over. He explains that the stone guy is unable to continue fighting, so they are ending the duel to protect both fighters. The hero is confused and asks him what he means by protection. He knows that if he was the one getting beaten up, they would never stop the match. When he tries objecting to the professor, he immediately dismisses his concern and tells him to leave the ring. Even though our boy doesn't like his decision, he decides not to say anything and walks away. This makes him frustrated since the duel ended without declaring a winner or loses. Still, he didn't lose, so it's all good. As he walks a bit further, he hears the professor trying to calm down the rock guy. He tells him to stay down because he can't fight anymore, but Erecto is not ready to surrender before a lower dimension creature. Threatening to kill the hero, he charges forward while the professor begs him to stop. He even asks the hero to dodge the attack, but our boy is in no mood to run away from this fight. Since his opponent is trying to kill him, he takes out his sword and prepares to face him head-on. Ban knows that the rock guy heard the professor telling him to stop, but he still chose to break the rules and charged in. In his eyes, both he and the professors are fools, and they're finally starting to piss him off. With this, our boy delivers an insane counterattack, cutting Erecto's arm in half. The entire crowd erupts and screams as they witness one of the strongest Class 1 students on the ground. The professor tries to calm him down, saying that they can reattach his arm. At the same time, our boy notices a system window appearing in front of him, asking if he wants to steal the attributes from Erecto's arm. While he wonders if this is possible, the professor frantically tries contacting the medical team. Despite all of his injuries, it appears that the rock guy is still conscious. The professor suddenly turns to the hero and asks him why he didn't dodge his attack even though he was clearly instructed to do so. Ban apologizes and explains that it all happened too quickly for him to respond, so he only reacted instinctively. His response makes the professor furious, but he suddenly hears the vice president's voice telling him to stop. He mentions that he will be one asking questions from here on. After introducing himself to the hero, he instructs him to answer all questions carefully. Even though that last attack from Erecto was reckless, there is no way the hero couldn't dodge it. The only reason they stopped the match was that the gap in their skills was too much. After saying all this, the vice president once again asks him for the actual reason he didn't dodge that last attack. Even though our boy has the ability to use the power of language, he can still feel a terrifying pressure from the words being spoken through the screen. This makes him wonder who the vice president actually is. Ban explains that he chose to counterattack instead of dodging because a student who ignores a teacher's authority and breaks the rules deserves to face consequences. He adds that sparring matches must strictly follow rules, and he wants to ensure that no student thinks they can secretly attack after a match ends. Since many students and even people from other dimensions are watching, he believes that simply dodging would send the message that rules do not apply when facing someone from a lower dimension. He says he made his decision quickly but believes it aligns with the Academy's principles. Hearing this, the vice president internally laughs, admitting that the hero gave a clever answer since he knows that there are many people listening. Even though it was an issue between two students, he tried expanding it to the entire academy. The vice president speaks out, admitting that his words are correct. Students who don't follow the rules need to be punished, but punishing them is the responsibility of him and the academy, not other students. All of this makes the referee excited, as he thinks that the hero is finished, since he is against the vice president himself. Ban admits that he was wrong and states that he is willing to accept any punishment. To everyone's shock, the vice president declares that he had no intention of punishing him. He was only curious to know why he acted that way. Since Erecto was the one at fault, his actions were purely in self-defense. The other professor tries to object, but the vice president shuts him up immediately, even scolding him for failing to stop the student from attacking. Since reattaching the rock guy's arm is not a difficult task, he decides to end the matter there and tells all the students who witnessed the duel to return to their seats and focus on their next classes. Relieved that everything has ended without further trouble, the group begins to disperse. The vice president encourages the hero to keep working hard and tells him he may leave. Ban bows politely and starts to go. As he walks away, the vice president casually remarks that they will meet again, which leaves our boy slightly confused about what that might mean. He soon rejoins his friends and they excitedly welcome him back. While they discuss his impressive performance in the duel, the emo girl joins in and comments that he has become even stronger. The hero credits her training for his improvement, but she clarifies that she is referring to the power he obtained by absorbing Erecto's arm. Ban is surprised that she knows and admits that he did absorb that power. The scene briefly recalls the moment when the system message appeared, offering him the chance to absorb the power. Out of curiosity, he tried absorbing a small portion, and it worked. Until now, he had never been able to manipulate the concept of a living being in such a way, but now it seems he can absorb power from specific parts. Dako thinks this is a good thing and wonders why he looks uneasy. Our boy admits that at first he felt happy about gaining strength, but once he calmed down, he realized that he had not cut off a monster's arm, but a human's. Feeling happy after severing someone's arm makes him uncomfortable. The girl tells him not to overthink it because, from her perspective, Erecto was the one who tried to kill him first, and losing an arm is simply the price he paid. In a life-and-death situation, she believes there is no need to feel sympathy for someone who intends to kill him. Ban eventually agrees, smiling and admitting that he may be overthinking things. While the group is engaged in their usual banter, our boy receives a message on his screen, which makes him a bit surprised. The message announces an important lecture being held by Vice President Zenon about the constellations of Babylon. It explains that the lecture will cover how to effectively gain support from constellations, how to negotiate and form contracts with them, how to avoid angering them, and even how to shift smoothly from one constellation to another. Although the lecture is primarily for senior students, Class 11 is also sincerely invited to attend. As they head toward the lecture hall, some people nearby whisper and gossip about the hero, pointing out that he is from a lower dimension, yet he is walking confidently. Hearing all of this trash talk, Ban turns to his group and jokingly remarks that in his world, there is a saying that the more people speak badly about you, the longer you live. The emo girl responds that if it's true, he might become immortal. Before our boy can walk further, the pink-haired girl gently grabs his sleeve and asks if he is truly okay after everything that happened. She worries that more people will start to hate him. He reassures her that he is fine. Although it stings a little, he feels being underestimated is better than being targeted. He even pats her on the head, thanking her sincerely for caring about him. Seeing this interaction, Dako teasingly suggests that the two of them are now in perfect sync after going out together. She even jokes about the clothes he bought for her and tells Ruchel to stop making such obvious advances in the open. Instead of feeling embarrassed like before, the pink-haired girl retorts directly, asking if she is feeling jealous. This immediately irritates Dako, and she prepares to fight, but our boy jumps in, reminding them that the class is about to start. As they stand outside the lecture hall, the hero hopes that they are not late. The blonde guy turns to him and worries that many upperclassmen will be inside, and that it might look strange if new students from a lower dimension suddenly join a class filled with seniors. Ban tells him not to overthink it and says the seniors will probably just assume talented juniors have come to join. However, as soon as he opens the door and looks inside, he is surprised to see everyone staring directly at them. The emo girl notes that this is probably because the class is filled with seniors, but even so, their skills cannot be ignored. Ruchel, meanwhile, feels nervous under the pressure of the room. Our boy realizes that although he knew the class was supposed to be extraordinary, it feels even more intense than he expected. At that moment, the professor welcomes them to his class. As the hero hears his voice, he suddenly receives several system messages stating that the man's abilities are unknown and cannot be measured. The vice president introduces himself as Xenon, their supervising professor, and invites them to take their seats. Ban recognizes the voice as the same one he heard after the duel. The professor explains that while the syllabus contains everything, the goal of the lecture is simple: to understand the tower and the constellations that reside within it. Since new juniors have joined, he decides to start with the basics of the tower itself. He explains that at first glance the tower looks like a massive structure without clear principles or an end, but in truth it is almost like a living entity. As climbers ascend, they overcome obstacles and draw closer to the tower's hidden treasures and secrets. It may seem like climbers go upward in search of rewards, but in reality the tower prepares those rewards in advance to reach out to exceptional climbers and select them. Rare items, treasures, and even miraculous opportunities are presented to those who seek deeper understanding. According to the professor, higher beings reveal more secrets to those who prove capable of comprehending them. As the hero listens, he feels skeptical and confused. He thinks about how the tower's system was disrupted when an intruder entered and wonders how it can be called alive. However, he suddenly remembers that the email sent to them by the Chancellor was not after they reached the 4th floor and the same time the intruder entered the tower. Yet he also remembers that the earlier rooms were already unusually difficult, even before the intruder appeared. This makes him question whether the tower's behavior truly changed because of the intruder or because of their own presence. He even wonders if the tower intentionally placed them in certain situations, or if his connection as a descendant of the Tower Master has something to do with it. The more he thinks, the less sense it makes to him. Light notices his distracted expression and asks what is wrong. Meanwhile, the vice president quietly watches him and smiles faintly. Our boy decides not to overthink it for now. If the tower can think and choose climbers as the professor claims, then perhaps the challenges they faced were tailored for them. He recalls the saying that higher risks bring higher rewards and assumes the tower must have prepared something significant for them after such difficulty. Still, he cannot fully grasp the concept. Looking around the classroom, Ban notices something strange. The professor asks if he has already figured it out and explains that a barrier surrounds the object, so some students don't even notice it even after a year. Yet the hero detected the orb in his first class, which the professor says proves he is sharper than most. As our boy is confused about this orb, the professor admits that his class is truly qualified to take this lecture with their seniors. He then brings down a spherical object and asks the hero what he sees inside it. As our boy looks at the orb, several system messages appear, saying the object cannot be measured. Despite focusing carefully, he cannot see anything within it. The professor urges him to concentrate and try again, insisting that there is something inside that he should be able to perceive. Once again, he tries but fails, and the professor asks him to do it again. Our boy concentrates with all his effort, trying to uncover whatever secret lies within. Suddenly, something appears to him. He realizes that he can perceive concepts such as barrier, separation, and protection inside the sphere. However, when he tries to look deeper, he fails to grasp anything else. The professor tells him he has done well and asks him to close his eyes and rest for a moment. In his mind, he is impressed, thinking that the hero has already identified 3 of the orb's core abilities and is clearly not an ordinary person. He finally understands why the headmaster has been paying such close attention to him. Professor Zenon then asks the hero whether he understands what the orb truly is. Ban honestly admits that he does not understand it at all. The professor remarks that his honesty is admirable, though it might have been better if he had thought a little before answering. He explains that the main purpose of both the class and everyday life is to expand one's imagination and thinking. The more someone broadens their thoughts, the stronger their power becomes. If a person wants to use their abilities at a higher level, they must first develop the force that lies behind that power and ensure that their capacity for thought continues to grow. Even if the answer is not visible, they should never stop thinking about it. Ban wonders what all this has to do with the orb and asks if someone with extremely high imagination and thinking ability would be able to control it. The teacher confirms that this is correct and says that if one day the hero fully understands the orb's structure and learns how to develop it, it could transform him into a being with godlike powers. Hearing this leaves everyone in the room stunned and silent, unable to fully grasp what he means. The hero himself is confused. The professor continues by saying that it may be difficult to understand right now, but as the lectures progress, they will gradually comprehend it. He explains that this core concept is a key part of his main lecture, which relates to simulated constellation war. With that, he ends the class and instructs everyone to think deeply about what they learned today. As the students leave, our boy admits to himself that he understood almost nothing. The whole concept feels extremely complicated. If mastering this could turn someone into a god, he wonders what exactly a pseudo-god is supposed to be. He questions the teacher's motives and feels overwhelmed by how difficult the class is. As they leave the hall, the hero asks Light to explain the lecture to him again, but before she can answer, they notice Ortama standing right in front of them. Ban is shocked to see him there and asks what he is doing. The guy tells him to stay quiet and says he is the one asking questions, demanding to know where the girl is. This makes the group confused as they wonder if he is talking about Dako. Just then, she approaches, wondering why everyone is gathered there. When she sees the guy, she initially thinks something serious has happened. Ortama walks past the hero and stands directly in front of her, saying he has something to discuss with her. The emo girl assumes he has come to request another duel and warns that if he wants to get beaten again, she will not stop him, though fighting inside the academy might be difficult. Instead, Bro suddenly drops to one knee and pulls out a bouquet of flowers asking if she would go on a date with him. Everyone behind him, including Ban, is shocked by this unexpected turn. Even the emo girl is completely speechless. Moments later, we see them walking away as the hero wonders what just happened. He finds it unbelievable that someone could fall for the person who beat him so badly, and questions what kind of personality it would take for that to happen. His friend points out that he has already answered his own question. The emo girl finds it hard to believe that he couldn't understand his motive since she was actually planning to ask him what he wanted. Everyone is surprised to hear her suggest that there might be a motive behind his actions. She insists that it is obvious he must have some hidden plan and says that his eyes did not show any genuine affection. The hero disagrees and says he did not get that impression at all. He casually adds that she is very beautiful anyway. Hearing this makes her blush, and she starts yelling at him for being so direct. As they talk, the pink-haired girl wonders silently whether Ortama truly had another motive behind his actions. She recalls his expression at the time and begins to question how he really felt when she said she had no interest in him. From her memory, she clearly remembers him appearing dejected after the emo girl left. The scene then shifts to the training hall where the hero begins receiving a flood of system messages. He has gained a new concept after uploading a new video to their channel. The system informs him that he has gained an ability called Charm along with another fairly ordinary skill. Ban wonders what the point of these minor stat increases is, and questions how such abilities will help them climb the tower. He asks the pink-haired girl to look at him and tell him if his face looks any different. The girl hesitates but admits that he does seem more handsome than before. The hero immediately becomes embarrassed and clarifies that he was not asking about that, though he thanks her anyway. Dako, however, grows annoyed by their exchange. She scolds them for chatting idly during sparring and says that even if they are resting, they should just focus on resting. The hero quickly approaches her and asks if his face looks different to her as well, but she smacks him away, telling him to focus on training. Soon, Ban and Ruchel begin sparring again. The pink-haired girl unleashes a series of attacks at high speed, but the hero calmly dodges each one. Watching from a distance, Light remarks that he has grown much stronger than before and suggests it's time to move on from dungeons. The emo girl tells him not to be so soft. She admits the hero has indeed grown stronger but says he is still far behind him and the beast. He can only spar with the girl because she is holding back. She thinks to herself that they only have one day left before entering the tower again, and hopes that the hero has figured out a way to deal with their unstable teammate. Otherwise, things will only play out as they did last time. Meanwhile, Ban activates his all-seeing eye and reflects that he has learned a lot about Ruchel's berserk ability over the past week. The ability uses her emotions as fuels, and her state changes drastically depending on the type of emotions. This means that she loses control if her ability is activated by intense emotions. But when positive emotions are involved, her rampage subsides. As they continue fighting, he swings his sword while the girl attacks with her claws. In such an intense battle, it is obvious that her rampaging anger will surface. She charges again, slashing at him, but our boy dodges, though a strand of his hair gets cut. He thinks that if he can replace the emotional fuel driving her with something more positive, he might be able to calm her. Using his sword, he knocks her back a great distance. Light and Dako are surprised to see this. Our boy then drops to one knee and realizes that this is the right moment. Over the past weeks, he has not only been sparring, but also collecting bits of her emotions from times when she was happy and relaxed. Instead of creating artificial emotions, he plans to copy her genuine positive feelings. The next moment, he dashes forward, gathering those emotions in his hand. As our boy reaches the girl and brings his hand near her head, he attempts to absorb them into her. Suddenly, she knocks his hand away. Ban is shocked as Ruchel glares at him and, moving at incredible speed, and strikes him with a powerful blow that sends him crashing to the ground. He struggles to get up while she, having lost control, lunges at him with sharp claws. Light and the emo girl rush forward to stop her. Ban's chain suddenly shoots out and binds both of Ruchel's hands, preventing further harm and saving him. She struggles and shouts, trying to break free. The hero, watching her, realizes that this time her movements are way faster than before. He sits back, relieved, thinking that the beast inside her calmed down faster this time. Still, he knows that restraining her and waiting it out every time is extremely dangerous. Something has definitely changed, but he is unsure what conditions caused it. The girl then thanks him, and he looks at her in confusion, wondering why she is thanking him at all, especially since they still have not fully solved the problem. Rukel tells him that even though her problem is not fully solved yet, he has already helped her a lot. Because of him, she can now fight more freely without worrying about losing control all the time, and that alone feels like a huge improvement to her. Just then, the emo girl walks over and startles our boy. Scared, he frantically tells her that they have all been working very hard. She agrees and starts to say something important but stops midway and goes silent. When they ask her what it is, she turns around saying it's nothing and that they should end training for the day. On their way to the tower, Light wonders if it would have been better to bring his holy sword along. He thinks that if it were only about her, he would not worry, but since all four of their fates are tied together, maybe they should take it. The emo girl reminds him that they all agreed to build a solid foundation without rushing ahead. It is only their second time entering the tower, and as first semester freshmen, they should not be overly anxious. Ban nods in agreement and thinks to himself that Light does not seem to realize how much he is starting to depend on the holy sword. He reflects that the sword contains two concepts, a demonic spirit and a divine spirit, and he is not even sure if it can still be called purely holy. Because of that, it might be safer for him to keep some distance from it, especially if it carries any negative influence. The blonde guy eventually agrees, but comments that if the tower collapses because he does not bring the sword, they should not blame him. As they keep on arguing, our boy checks his status and feels relieved that things are finally starting to make sense. He then takes out both of his artifacts and says that he will be counting on them again this time. At the same time, the pink-haired girl approaches him from behind and promises that she will do her best and follow whatever instructions he gives. The hero reassures her that she can trust him, as he is naturally strong in real combat. Hearing this, she happily says she believes in him. Dako watches this exchange and hopes that the hero can at least last until Saturday evening. Hearing this, Ban complains that she seems to enjoy pushing people around. Before the discussion can go further, she asks him to talk in private. Walking a bit further from the group, she explains that she wanted to clarify some things before heading into the tower. Today is their first evaluation, and their current progress isn't too good. Our boy remembers what she told him before, and assures her that their teammates are improving. The emo girl then talks about Ruchel, but before she can start, she notices her eavesdropping on their conversation. She quickly snaps her finger, creating a sharp sound that only the pink-haired girl can hear. Now that she can't hear them anymore, the emo girl asks our boy if he knows what submission means. Ban answers that it means being dominated. The girl tells him that he is partially correct. The person being dominated might feel uncomfortable, but some people find stability in strong leadership. In their case, the beast seems to like someone who can completely control and dominate her. When the hero still doesn't understand, she gets closer and tells him that when the beast loses control, he won't be able to stabilize her by half-hearted attempts. Despite getting clear instructions, Bro is still clueless about what she means. This makes the emo girl frustrated, and she tells him to forget it for now, but memorize her words. Ban agrees, even though he is still confused. Walking back to the group, the blonde guy asks if they are finally heading out. Our boy confirms it and places his hand on the gate, asking if everyone is ready. After getting the nod of approval from his group, he announces the start of their second exploration as special admission first-year students and steps through the gate. As they enter, the environment slowly changes and reshapes itself into a maze. The emo girl comments that she thought they would begin again from the first room, but it does not seem that way this time. Judging from their pendant, it seems like they are on the 5th floor. While Light and the emo girl start arguing, the hero suddenly notices Ruchel moving away and asks where she is heading. She explains that she can smell monsters coming from a certain direction. Ban wonders if she has already found enemies even before they manage to locate a proper path. Just then, he is startled as strange glitches begin to appear in front of them. The blonde guy is confused and wonders if this is the same phenomenon they encountered earlier in the first room. Our boy observes carefully and mentions that this is different. In his thoughts, he notices the strange crackling sound and the way the space seems to twist, as if something is slowly breaking apart. Ruchel immediately rushes forward and attacks the disturbance. At that same moment, Ban receives a system message listing several elements such as glitch, demon spirit, light noise, and malfunction inversion. He realizes that this is indeed a glitch phenomenon. Whenever signals collapse, both sound and visuals break down completely, and that destruction creates fear that takes the form of a monster. However, this type of creature feels very different from the monsters they have faced before. There are still many concepts here that he does not fully understand, especially how this malfunction inversion works as a concept. For now, he decides to collect the inversion contained within the glitch, as it seems useful. Meanwhile, one of the monsters suddenly appears in front of him, but the emo girl blasts it away using her lasers. She tells him to stay focused because dealing with these enemies while navigating the maze is already difficult enough. As they continue forward, she warns everyone that the maze is extremely complex and that they must not get separated. Suddenly, our boy receives another message and thinks that although he is collecting only small amounts of inversion, gathering enough of them to eventually use as an ability will be worth the effort. He glances back and sees the pink-haired girl fighting alone. Concerned, He calls her over and tells her there is no need for her to handle everything by herself, as she might lose control if she pushes too far. He asks her to stay close to him from now on, and the girl shyly agrees. Nearby, Dako easily defeats several monsters and tells the two of them to keep moving instead of flirting. Ban quickly denies that they were doing anything unnecessary and begins attacking the enemies with his chain. Meanwhile, Ruchel stands behind him, warning him about incoming monsters and guiding his movements. After fighting for a while, they run through the maze and eventually stop to catch their breath. Looking around, the emo girl comments that something feels strange. She has memorized every path they have taken so far, yet even though the shapes of the corridors change slightly, it still feels like they have been here before. In other words, the maze is changing in real time, and their only option is to destroy it completely. As Ban thinks about this, he realizes he has been too focused on collecting inversion concepts and overlooked something important. He stops Dako and points out that constantly shifting paths do not make logical sense, which means there must be a hidden trick somewhere in the walls. While saying this, he presses a certain stone and obtains a concept called Illusion 0.5, something humans normally cannot possess. Immediately, the wall splits open and slowly disappears. Ban feels satisfied that his guess was correct. When his teammates ask how he figured it out, he casually explains that he had noticed something strange earlier, but had been too busy collecting concepts. He dislikes wasting time, and after running through the area repeatedly, he sensed something unusual in that spot, which helped him find the exit. As the group moves forward, the emo girl quietly admits to herself that for him to notice magical details, even she missed means he is far from an ordinary genius. Soon after, the hero cuts down a large glitch monster with ease and gains many concept points. Light remarks that even though this is only their second expedition, they have already encountered another elite monster, proving that their team is far from ordinary. The hero then receives another system message and checks it. Seeing him, the pink-haired girl becomes worried and asks if he is hurt, but he assures her he is fine. He notices that his magic power is stuck at 199. Despite all the fighting and the many concepts he has observed over the past 3 hours, his magic power refuses to rise past 200. This has never happened before with his life force or physical growth, and he cannot understand what is going on. Dako suddenly appears beside him and asks what is wrong. He is startled by how close she is and reminds her not to approach him so suddenly. When he explains that his magic power is no longer increasing even after defeating an elite monster, the girl surprisingly looks pleased. She explains that he has finally reached a wall. For a long time, he has been absorbing energy at an incredible rate, but he kept pouring more into himself without giving it time to grow properly. Because of that, he has reached his limit faster than expected. Hearing this, the hero asks what he should do now. She advises him to try surpassing his limit instead of blindly hunting monsters. However, before she explains further, she glances at Ruchel and sarcastically comments that it must be nice for some of them not to be stuck on campus over the weekend. Our boy immediately recognizes what she means and offers to take her out if she teaches him the method. She agrees but warns that the training will take some time. Since they already defeated the elite monster and there was no shift, they decide it's the best choice. Dako then explains that the best method for him right now is to learn the basics of the art of divine manifestation. Despite its impressive name, she describes it as a fundamental martial art and assures him it will not be too difficult to learn. Ban, however, reflects that although he has learned many principles from her before, he has never actually studied martial arts directly. He asks if he should at least perform a small ceremony to become her disciple. The emo girl dismisses the idea, saying it is just basic training that even children can learn, and tells him to simply get ready. As he prepares, she privately reflects that his request for a ceremony surprises her. In truth, the art of divine manifestation is not something that can be taught casually. It is a strictly guarded technique passed down through her bloodline. If her father ever found out she was teaching it to an outsider from another world, he would be shocked. Meanwhile, Ban nervously asks whether he really needs to remove his clothes for the training, which embarrasses both of them. The blonde guy and Ruchel also become flustered watching from a distance. Dako quickly silences them and orders the hero to sit down calmly so they can begin. As he sits, she reflects again on her feelings, sensing that she wants to nurture his growth with her own hands. It makes her wonder how far he can grow, but she doesn't want anyone else to influence his potential. The girl cannot fully explain why he makes her feel this way, but she knows his abilities are exceptional. Feeling awkward and shy, the hero notices how warm her hands are as she prepares him. She reminds him that she has already explained the basics and asks if he is ready. He agrees, but wonders if she will chant a mantra before starting. Dako laughs, saying that even if she recited one, he would not understand it, and explaining everything word by word would take too long. Instead, she decides it is better to transmit the technique directly into his body. Before she begins, he asks her where she even learned her techniques, and she jokingly mentions that she learned it through novels. Just when the hero turns back in shock, she immediately begins the process. We go back a few minutes earlier when she told him that divine manifestation will completely change the nature of his magic power and the foundation of his body. Ban is shocked, realizing this is far more complex than the simple martial art he expected. She reassures him that when he trains his ki, it is natural for its nature to change. The transformed magic power will simulate a new body within him. That simulated body will continuously consume magic power and produce pure ki. As both his body and magic power train together, his vessel will naturally grow stronger. Our boy finds the explanation hard to grasp, but in simple terms, he understands that he must filter his magic power and convert it into purer ki. When she finally uses the technique on him, he feels intense heat spreading through his body. Our boy senses something like a burning sphere moving inside him, consuming magic power and carving new pathways that never existed before. It feels as though a new internal route is being formed, and he worries that if it continues, his body might burn out. The emo girl places a hand on his shoulder and tells him to calm himself, follow the pathways forming inside him, and move his divine ki along them. This, she explains, is the beginning of divine manifestation. If he succeeds, he will naturally discover the next path on his own. Ban focuses deeply on the blue flame-like energy moving within him and stabilizes it through concentration. Gradually, he begins to feel more comfortable. He realizes that using magic power in its raw state is not always the best approach. At that moment, a system message appears, informing him that he has understood a new martial arts concept. All negative concepts within his body have been eliminated, and a positive life excess has been created, which will enhance the growth of his other concepts. Ban is amazed. Just as Dako predicted, the concepts within his body begin to be replaced by divine ki, and the more he trains, the stronger everything feels. The emo girl then asks him how it feels and whether he is satisfied. Our boy responds by giving her a thumbs up, clearly impressed by the results of the divine manifestation technique. He even jokingly tells her to think about what kind of gift she wants in return. The girl laughs and says she will look forward to it, but first reminds him to wipe off his sweat if he plans to keep climbing the tower. Ban goes behind a pillar to clean himself up, still feeling a bit strange. Whenever he focuses even slightly during training, he can sense divine ki circulating inside his body. The more it filters and grows, the stronger his body becomes and the sharper his senses feel. He finds it surprising that he has gained such a powerful martial art so easily and without any clear cost. After getting ready, he rejoins the others and apologizes for taking too long. Ban notices Dako looking at him strangely and tries to brush it off, urging everyone to move on. Blushing slightly, the pink-haired girl remarks that the view count would probably skyrocket if anyone saw what just happened, and Light agrees. Our boy quickly tells them to stop and focus on moving forward. As they walk, the blonde guy suddenly realizes it is already lunchtime and asks if anyone is hungry. The hero feels guilty for wasting their time and thinks it is indeed time to eat. However, Dako refuses and insists they will not eat until they reach the 6th room, since they have already spent too long in the 5th. Light jokes that she is enforcing military-like rules, but she tells him to use his energy to find the gate instead of complaining. While they talk, he spots something ahead that looks like a path to the 6th room. Just as they prepare to head there, the hero suddenly feels his ability activate on its own. He senses the traces of another concept just outside the door. Confused, he moves in the opposite direction, wondering if it's behind him. Looking at him, the emo girl suggests they follow him for now. They arrive at a spot that looks empty, and Light wonders if they have taken the wrong path. Ban, however, senses an illusion hiding something. He reaches out and the invisible barrier begins to crack. With a gust of wind, it shatters completely, revealing a hidden route. His team is shocked, realizing that he has found a new path. A message soon appears, telling the hero that he has absorbed 50 illusion concepts. He is shocked by the number and realizes he has uncovered a very well-hidden passage. After realizing that he has found a shortcut, he turns back and asks the group what they should do next. Without even waiting to think, his teammates trust his intuition and decide to head inside. They proceed while the hero feeds concept energy to his pet, helping it grow stronger. Since the floor has not changed yet, they assume the shift will happen after climbing the stairs ahead. The emo girl suggests the stairs themselves might trigger the shift and tells Light to walk carefully in front. After climbing, Ruchel's necklace indicates that they have reached the 8th floor. Ban is shocked that they skipped 3 floors at once, and comments that even he didn't expect the shortcut to be this effective. The blonde guy mentions that shortcuts are considered extremely lucky, but the more floors they skip, the more difficult things become. Hearing this, our boy wonders what's gotten into him since he was way less scared in their previous expedition. It seems as if he is still worried about not having his sword. The emo girl even mocks him, suggesting that they should simply smash the sword in half. As they continue walking, the pink-haired girl points out an exit ahead. Since their student IDs show the 8th floor, they assume the gate will lead to the 9th. Ruchel feels uneasy and says the atmosphere reminds her of when they faced an irregular enemy before. Dako tells everyone to stay cautious from the start and asks Light to draw his sword as soon as they enter. This makes the blonde guy excited, and he jumps forward telling everyone to leave this to him. However, the other side is a bit anticlimactic because they don't find any monsters there. Light thinks it might be a rest area, but Ban doubts that, since no such place was mentioned. Suddenly, a magical projectile is fired at them from behind. Our boy hears it too late, and the attack explodes near the emo girl. After the dust clears, the hero calls out to her in concern, and she questions whether he had not said that only he could use such weapons in this tower. Ban confirms that the weapon can only be used once, meaning the attacker cannot use it again. Angry at the sudden ambush, he tells Light to rush over and deal with the hidden player. The attacker is shocked that his position has been discovered so quickly. He cannot understand how anyone could locate him, since new students should not be able to detect his stealth skill. The blonde guy charges forward and slices through the pillar hiding the attacker, launching a direct assault. The attacker thinks that once he finishes Light off, he will blow up the entire group. Our boy quickly asks Dako if she is alright and realizes that if that shot had directly hit any of them, the situation would have been extremely dangerous. The hero then examines the projectile with his skill and realizes it is not an ordinary bullet but a powerful magic bomb. He tells everyone to step back and manages to deactivate it, calming the immediate danger. Angered by the ambush, he decides the attacker must pay for this. Meanwhile, the attacker is busy with the blonde guy trying to defend himself. Realizing that he is at a good distance from the group, he decides to detonate the bomb. However, when he prepares to press the button, he notices the bomb right above his head. This makes him scream, and he shouts that the bomb is about to blow up. However, for some reason it bounces right off the wall and nothing happens. While the attacker is confused, Light looks at him directly and tells him that he can't simply look away during a fight no matter what. After saying this, he instantly slashes the man with his sword before he can do anything else. As the guy clutches his shoulder in pain, Light asks him why he attacked them even though he is a human. Before he can answer, our boy approaches from behind and explains that he saw through the attacker's stealth skill and noticed the bomb hidden inside the bullet. The attacker had been too confident in his trick, which is why he is now in this situation. Shocked, the attacker demands to know who they are and how a bunch of rookies from the lower floors could possess such power. Before any calm conversation can happen, the emo girl attacks him from the side, intending to break his limbs so he cannot do anything else. However, Ruchel insists that they should kill him instead of leaving him alive. She growls, saying that if they do not kill him, they themselves might be in danger. The next moment she rushes forward to strike, but the hero stops her using his chain just before her claws reach the attacker's eyes and tells her to calm down. Suddenly, a powerful pressure fills the area, and a voice appears, scolding the attacker for failing. The group realizes that a constellation is speaking. It remarks that the attacker's role seems to be over. The man insists that he can still complete the task and kill them, but the constellation orders him to sacrifice himself to earn his share for his comrades. As something strange begins happening to the attacker, Ban quickly warns everyone to retreat. Light starts pouring out of the attacker's body, and before our boy can fully move away, a massive explosion occurs. After the blast, the three of them survive by taking cover behind a pillar. The emo girl immediately calls out to the hero since he was close to the blast. Fortunately, he is also alive and well. When the group asks him how he managed to survive, he explains that he knew he could not dodge the explosion, so he had to find another way to stop it. He remembered the concept he had absorbed earlier from the bomb and used it to create a counter-explosion right in front of him, neutralizing the blast. Dako realizes that he stopped one explosion with another. In all of this, the blonde guy notices that the attacker is gone. Our boy assumes he is probably fine and might have been sent to a lower floor after dying, since that is how the tower works. However, the constellation's voice returns and declares that the attacker is definitely dead, and that the tower accepted his death during their fight. It accuses them of killing him intentionally. Ban rejects that accusation, arguing that they only did what was necessary to survive. The constellation laments sacrificing a valuable member for nothing, and admits it should have been more careful once the tower started treating this group specially. Hearing this, the hero demands that the constellation stop speaking vaguely and explain what happened to the boy and who they are. The constellation finally reveals that they belong to Exodus, their enemies, and promises they will meet again before disappearing. After the pressure fades, our boy feels frustrated, realizing that none of those constellations are ordinary, either in strength or in words. Ruchel recalls the name Exodus, and Light explains that it is not a person, but an organization, a famous group of dimension pirates who travel between worlds. The constellation they just encountered was likely their sponsor. Hearing this, Ban remembers that Professor Yumina once told him about such dimension pirates. The blonde guy concludes that these people are now targeting their lives and wonders what exactly is happening. Dako remarks that this is not entirely surprising, since they were bound to clash with them eventually, and at least now they have gained some experience from the encounter. However, Light still feels weird by what the constellation told them earlier. As he wonders what makes their group so special, they all receive a notification on their screen. Since the hero didn't receive any notification, he asks them if it's a message from the principal. The emo girl dismisses it and reveals that they all just leveled up. For them, this is their first level up since entering the tower. They wonder if it is a reward from the tower for surviving the constellation's attack. From a distance, our boy watches them and recalls that they all use status windows. Their stats had been unusually high from the start, which may be why they had not leveled up until now. Still, he wonders why he alone has not received anything. It almost feels as if the tower is ignoring him. Having no status window means no visible reward. He activates his eye ability and examines the place where the enemy vanished. Strangely enough, there is a concept still floating there. If his assumption is correct, that object must be his share of the reward. When he touches it, a bright light emerges and begins to absorb into his body just as he expected. He is stunned to see his life stat jump to 79, and he also gains unfamiliar concepts he has never seen before. One of them, Myriad Forms, seems to be a superior transformation-related ability, while another, Stigmata, appears to be connected to constellations. He realizes he has obtained powerful things he does not yet know how to use. At that moment, his pet appears and seems interested in Myriad Forms. Since Ban cannot use it himself, he lets his pet take it. Shortly after feeding it the concept, the hero suddenly shouts. Rukel quickly asks what happened, and he shows them that Eve has turned back into an egg again. This has happened once before, but last time it hatched quickly. This time, however, nothing happens. Light suggests that it may take longer, because this is the pet's second evolution. The emo girl adds that Eve might level up along with them. During all of this, our boy can't help but tremble in fear. When the blonde guy asks him why he is so worried, he tells him that they don't have anything to hold back Ruchel now. Fortunately, they are walking in a restroom, so they hope Eve wakes up by then. As they walk into the 10th room, the hero mentions that if someone is unlucky, there may be no food or water here. However, looking around, he feels they might be fortunate. Light begins picking fruit from the trees, and explains that these are called the Fruits of Eden. They remove fatigue and boost potential, making them perfect for resting periods. Ban and Dako are amazed after eating the fruit as it tastes a bit too good. The girl suggests they eat as much as they can before leaving, and even take some with them. However, Light explains that they cannot do that as the fruit's effect works only once per person, and if they try to take any with them, the fruit will disappear on its own. Hearing this, our boy thinks it is a waste that they cannot take any along and wonders if there is another way. Suddenly, a system message appears, informing him that he has eaten the one and only fruit of good and evil. As a result, his eyes will now be able to recognize sin. He is surprised that such an ability comes from eating just one fruit and wonders how exactly it will define sin. For now, he decides not to dwell on it. At the same time, Ruchel calls everyone over, saying she has found some kind of box nearby. They wonder if it could be a reward for their progress. Even if it is low rank, it might still contain unique items, considering everything they have gone through. Ban agrees, pointing out that they have faced a constellation twice, which is far from normal. It feels as if all the difficulties have been gathered into one place for them, something most teams likely never experience. The hero explains that this is the settlement reward given after each rest area depending on the team's progress. Since it's a wooden box with gold trim, he believes it's going to be a low-grade but upper-tier reward. Treasure chests from restrooms are ranked by materials, which means that gold gives the best rewards. As the blonde guy prepares to open the chest, Dako stops him and suggests letting the hero open it. This makes the man mad, and she comments that he is just unlucky, so they can't have him opening the box. When our boy finally opens it, he is shocked to see a heart-shaped artifact inside. Light observes that the object does not look functional and might be some sort of ritual tool. The pink-haired girl finds its shape fascinating, while Dako senses strong energy coming from it and concludes that it is definitely an artifact. Ban politely asks Ruchel if he can hold it for a moment. As he examines it closely, he realizes from its design that it resembles a magic wand. Checking its stats, he notices that everything is related to magic, with an especially high soul value. When asked if he has figured anything out, he explains that it appears to be a beginner's magic training tool with its own will, capable of teaching its user. His friend is surprised by the idea that the item might have consciousness, but the pink-haired girl agrees that it truly feels alive. The hero then asks if he can keep the artifact and promises to compensate them. The others agree without much hesitation. He thanks them, feeling that the item will help him greatly, and decides to repay them immediately. Instead of using money, Ban takes out a basket and asks his friend to gather fruits. The blonde guy reminds him that taking the fruits outside is pointless because they disappear, but he tells him to trust him. Once the fruits are collected, he brings out a jar and places it on the ground. The others recognize it as the same jar he used before. The hero explains that each fruit can only be consumed once and vanishes if taken outside. He wonders what would happen if he fused their concept with another item. He extracts the essence of the fruits and merges it with the jar's contents, believing it is worth trying something no one else has attempted. As the fusion completes, a new gem forms. System messages appear, announcing the creation of a life elixir that boosts health and mana, opens new possibilities, and becomes more effective with long-term use. However, consuming too much at once may trigger divine punishment. Everyone in his group is amazed, but he explains that they cannot consume it yet because of the room's rules. To test its taste and effects, they need to leave first. Hearing this, the emo girl eagerly suggests moving on, and the others agree since they already feel rested. They proceed to the 11th room. As soon as they arrive, Dako asks Ban to check if the elixir works. He confirms that it does, and she hugs him in excitement. The hero becomes embarrassed by her sudden closeness. Realizing what she has done, she quickly pushes him away and acts flustered. The blonde guy teases her for hugging him, but she tries to brush it off and tells him to shut up. Meanwhile, the hero remarks indirectly that he himself was way more shocked. Just then, something suddenly appears in front of him. He looks toward the others and realizes there are monsters nearby. Without wasting time, he quickly moves away from them and urgently alerts the group to the danger. However, before things can escalate, a beam shoots past his side and instantly wipes out all the monsters. The emo girl comments that it's perfect timing since she couldn't eat the elixir when she was full. Killing all these monsters will give her the chance to digest. Hearing this, the hero feels troubled and thinks to himself that perhaps he should have created something other than the elixir. Nevertheless, time passes steadily, and after about 10 hours, the group finally reaches the 14th floor. At this point, Dako wonders why she still does not feel hungry at all. Ban admits that he did not expect his stomach to remain so full for half an entire day. His friend reflects that they might be the only team that has crossed 3 floors simply in hopes of feeling hungry. Despite all that, the emo girl thinks they might start feeling hungry once they reach room 15. However, the hero quickly objects and insists that they should stop for the day. He points out that evening has already arrived, and even if they still have some stamina left, resting now would be the best option. When she asks why he is so certain, he directs their attention to Ruchel, who is almost about to go berserk. Seeing her, the emo girl agrees that advancing further in this state would be risky. Ban insists they rest for the night instead of pushing on. There is no need to eat right now, so they should simply bathe and relax before starting toward the 15th floor the next day. Dako and Light both agree. He takes out some equipment and tells them they can use it to bathe. When the emo girl asks what he will do, he explains that he will bathe later because he wants to focus on practicing his manifestation technique. She tells him that she is glad she taught him that skill and reminds him that mastering it depends on practice, so he should keep working without distractions while she and the beast go to bathe. The hero then looks at Light and asks why he is still standing there. The blonde guy becomes flustered and insists that he is a man, questioning why he would suggest he bathe with the girls. Ban is momentarily stunned and wonders if he still has not realized that his identity has already been exposed. Playing along, he suggests that if Light does not want to join them, he can bathe there instead. The blonde guy refuses, saying that even if they are both men, he cannot expose himself in front of someone else. He asks the hero to look away, warning that if he peeks, he will be furious. As he turns away, our boy notices a necklace. The next day, the scene shifts. Light is told not to rely so much on his sword, and he questions the idea. Dako explains that he fights quite well even without it, but the blonde guy argues that this might not last. The monsters on the 7th floor were not very strong, and they cannot predict what lies ahead. Stronger or elite monsters could appear at any time, and fighting without his holy sword might become too dangerous. The emo girl eventually decides that since they have already considered the possibilities, it is best for him to use his holy sword again. Light is relieved and vows never to part with it. Seeing this, our boy asks if that decision is really okay, and Dako says they do not have many options. The guy has reached his limit, so keeping him satisfied for now is the practical choice. At that moment, Ruchel approaches them while growling. They wonder what has gotten into her since she had been eating peacefully earlier. Ban jokes that she might be on alert because they are standing too close. This makes the emo girl frustrated and she walks away saying that they now have to deal with jealousy. Despite all this fighting, the group finally manages to reach the 15th room, where they encounter a bunch of orc monsters. The blonde guy once again fights at the front and starts slashing the monsters. Ban watches him fight and realizes that without giving him his sword back, they would have been in serious trouble. The emo girl points out that this is hardly the right moment to be thinking about such matters. Meanwhile, another monster suddenly appears right in front of the hero and rushes toward him. Before it can do any real damage, Dako attacks from behind with a quick energy blast, while Ruchel moves with incredible speed and tears through the remaining monsters with her claws. Because of their swift response, Ban lets out a relieved breath and silently expresses his gratitude to both of them. Even so, the emo girl warns him to stay alert. As he watches the pink-haired girl, he worries internally that she could lose control at any moment. Since there has still been no sign of the effect wearing off, he realizes that when the time comes, he may have no choice but to rely on the same method that failed before. Just then, another enemy strikes from behind and our boy quickly blocks the attack with his sword. The enemy loudly proclaims its identity and threatens to turn them all to ashes. However, before it can continue, Light slices off its head in a single swift motion, silencing it instantly. Soon after, another orc looks at the hero and remarks that he appears to be the weakest among them. Ban questions how it can tell, but before the creature can respond, its head is also cut off. The blonde guy declares that the monsters are nothing but minor threats, and that the one who looked like an elite enemy has already been defeated. From his perspective, the rest are insignificant. The hero tries to stop him from charging ahead recklessly, but he continues eliminating enemies one after another without coordination. After defeating them all, Light reflects that he did not expect to encounter monsters similar to those from his homeland in this tower, though in the end, they are merely orcs that cannot block his holy sword. Dako, however, grows irritated and scolds him for attacking so recklessly without teamwork. Our boy realizes that the blonde guy has just slain the last monster and warns that the shift to the next phase could begin at any moment. The emo girl reminds Light that they had agreed to regroup before moving on to the next floor. The blonde guy, however, dismisses the concern and insists that clearing the next floor with his holy sword will be easy. His dismissive attitude shocks both of them. He even suggests that there is no need to waste time on low-level enemies, and implies that perhaps the others are worried about missing out on loot. This remark angers the girl, but Ban quickly steps in and urges everyone to calm down. Internally, he wonders what has suddenly changed in his friend, since this behavior is unlike him. Still, he reminds them that the shift could begin at any moment, so they should prepare themselves. At that moment, a loud rumble echoes through the area as the space begins to transform. The blonde guy watches in confusion as the environment changes, eventually reshaping itself into a massive chessboard. Observing this, our boy realizes that they have not been teleported. Instead, the surroundings themselves have transformed entirely. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl suddenly shows signs of distress and drops to the ground. Concerned, the hero approaches her and reaches out to check on her, but she grabs his hand and indicates that she can no longer suppress her condition. Ban realizes that she may lose control at any moment, which is exactly why he wanted them to pause before entering the next shift. Before they can react further, a figure approaches and asks if they are the ones responsible for killing its soldiers. The monster introduces itself as Captain Kuros of the Great Rusted Halberd Legion and vows to honor his fallen comrades by defeating them. Hearing this, our boy is confused since the monsters on the 15th floor were orcs, yet this appears to be the 16th floor. He begins to suspect that the two floors might be connected. Soon after, a system message appears, explaining the rule of the 16th floor. The weakest soldier must attack first. This confuses the hero, but the orc captain calls out for the weakest among them to step forward. Realizing he is likely the weakest, our boy prepares himself. However, his friend steps in front of him and indicates that he does not need to follow such a meaningless rule. Ban is startled by Light's sudden intervention and tries to stop him, but he ignores the warning. As he charges forward, the orc captain asks him if he is the weakest. The blonde guy shouts that he will split him in half and strikes with incredible speed, but the attack has no effect. A system message then appears, stating that a rule has been broken. As a penalty, one of the blonde guy's abilities is removed, and all of his stats are reduced. Immediately, he finds himself unable to move properly. At that very moment, the orc captain swings his massive axe at him. Because his stats have dropped so drastically after the penalty, he is unable to block the powerful blow. Ban and Dako watch in shock as the system announces that Light has been defeated, and he slowly disappears from the floor. After this, the hero explains the nature of the floor. He realizes that they have entered a trick room, which is different from the others. These rooms operate under special rules and are far more difficult. However, if the rules are followed and the room is cleared properly, the rewards are said to be much better. On the other hand, anyone who breaks the rules is immediately punished. Our boy curses their situation and notes that the tower's difficulty is always set according to the team's maximum strength at the start. Once that value is locked, even if one or two members drop out, the difficulty does not adjust. This means the room will still operate as if all 4 members are present. Because Light has already been eliminated after rushing ahead, the expedition is now practically doomed. Meanwhile, the orc captain laughs and remarks that even though that idiot faced death, he still managed to wound him, which earns a degree of respect in his eyes. He invites them to attack him again and seems to grow larger and more intimidating. Ban realizes that breaking the rule may have powered the enemy up. Hearing this, the emo girl remarks bitterly that although she suspected the sword was affecting Light's judgment, she never thought it would make him act so recklessly. Our boy agrees that it is harsh but accurate, noting that the blonde guy was never this impulsive or reckless when they first met. The situation no longer makes sense to him. Dako concludes that the sword cannot be trusted, as it will inevitably cause a critical mistake at the worst possible moment. She resolves that once they escape the tower, she will train him strictly. Even so, the hero urges them to focus on clearing the room first. However, she disagrees. With one teammate already down, she sees no point in continuing the expedition normally. Instead, she decides to take advantage of the situation and deliberately break the room's tricky rules to see what kind of price must be paid. The orc captain steps forward and observes that she clearly is not the weakest among them, questioning whether she intends to break the rule again. Without responding, she looks back at her teammates and, through clenched teeth, tells Ban that she will leave first. She reminds him not to forget what she told him before they entered the tower. Before he can stop her, the orc attacks. She draws her sword and strikes, severing the creature's arms. Immediately after, a system message appears announcing that player Dako has been defeated, and she disappears as well. The orc roars in anger over losing its arms. Our boy then draws his own sword and tells him that although it may have grown stronger due to penalties, its condition is clearly not ideal for fighting. He resolves to finish it off for the sake of his teammates who sacrifice themselves. The orc mocks him, assuming that the weakest has finally stepped forward. However, before the confrontation can fully begin, Ruchel suddenly lunges from behind in a furious state and attacks the orc with her claws. Startled, the hero turns and immediately tries to stop her. He knows that if she also breaks the rule, the orc captain might gain even more power. Realizing she is not listening, he concludes that he has no choice but to use his special method again, to insert positive emotions into her mind and calm her down. After using the technique, he checks on her condition. The girl is breathing heavily, but instead of calming down, her state worsens. As the hero worries about her, the orc seizes the opportunity and grabs his axe, preparing to strike both of them. Ban continues trying to reach the pink-haired girl, asking if she can respond, but she remains in her rampaging state. Suddenly, she places a hand on his shoulder and pushes him aside, protecting him from the incoming attack. A system message then appears, stating that the enemy's attack has failed and that the rule governing the floor has now been lifted. The orc expresses frustration, having intended to kill them both in a single strike. It then realizes that even though Ruchel is acting on pure instinct, she still protected the hero. From its perspective, Ban is extremely fortunate to still have such a loyal partner by his side. In the next instant, the pink-haired girl finishes the orc off by tearing its head away. Still, in shock, the hero realizes that he might have died if she didn't shield him from that previous attack. Even so, he still received a small wound. He understands that if things continue like this, both he and Ruchel will soon be in serious danger. Therefore, he quickly pulls a potion from his inventory and calls the girl over so they can treat their injuries before moving forward. However, instead of calmly approaching him, she suddenly turns around in anger and attacks him. Ban is knocked back and falls to the ground while she screams and begins powering up even more. Watching her, the hero realizes that she still has not regained her senses. The fire inside her only continues to grow stronger, and he cannot understand why this is happening. At that moment, the room begins to shift again. He realizes with frustration that a shift is happening at the worst possible time. When they arrive in the next room, a system message announces that they have entered the 17th room, filled with masked goblins. The pink-haired girl stares at the goblins with pure rage and immediately rushes toward them. The hero tries to stop her, but it's too late. She advances like a beast, completely out of control. Seeing this, our boy slams his hand against the ground in frustration, realizing that his earlier attempt to calm her has completely failed, and he can no longer stop her. He regrets that he told her to leave everything to him without properly checking the situation, and admits to himself that he has been careless, using his ability without enough thought and manipulating her worries according to his own judgment. At this point, with the other teammates already eliminated, the expedition has essentially failed. The hero even considers that dying here might be easier so they can restart from earlier. However, despite these thoughts, Ruchel suddenly rushes back toward him to protect him from an incoming arrow. She pulls the arrow out and stands in front of him, shielding him once again. Ban realizes that even now she is still fighting alone to protect him. He recalls how she once told him that she would leave everything to him and follow whatever he said because she trusted him. Remembering this, our boy takes out another potion and resolves not to let everything end like this. Even though the expedition is already a failure and their situation is terrible, he refuses to give up. Still, he knows that the first priority is to bring the girl back to normal, though he has no clear idea how to do it. Acting recklessly again could make things even worse. He reflects on her usual behavior. Normally, she acts more like a loyal dog, dependent and obedient, not like the wild beast she appears to be now. Then he realizes that even wild beasts can be tamed. Ruchel was not born as a wild creature, so communication with her should still be possible. Perhaps the problem lies in the way he has been trying to reach her. He remembers Dako's earlier advice about dominance. From her perspective, some beings feel peace and control under strong leadership, and this beast-like side of Ruchel may respond better to firm authority rather than gentle persuasion. Thinking this through, Ban concludes that if his voice cannot reach her through kindness, he must try the other method. He steps forward and stops her, telling her firmly to halt. He points out that only one goblin remains, and if they kill it now, another shift will begin immediately, which they will not survive. They need to heal first before moving on. When the goblin charges toward them, he kicks it hard in the face and orders it to stay back, showing how serious he is. The girl then rushes toward him again, but he realizes he has no other choice. Our boy takes out a chair and a rope from his inventory and slams the rope against the ground with force. The sharp sound startles her and makes her hesitate. He places the chair in front of him and firmly orders her to sit. Although she growls in anger, she eventually sits down. Ban strikes the rope against the ground again to quiet her, and then instructs her to place her hand on his. She follows his command. Encouraging her firmly, he praises her for doing well. Gradually, she begins to calm down and regain her senses. The hero notices that her hair color is returning to normal, and he is surprised at how effective this method is. Ruchel lowers her head shyly and calls his name, fully conscious again. Relieved, he says that it is good to see her back to her usual self. In response, she stands up and hugs him tightly, making it clear through her actions that he is the only one she recognizes as her master. Our boy suddenly feels a powerful shock run through his body. As a result, he collapses, and she falls into his lap, leaving him confused about what has just happened. Soon after, a notification window appears before him, stating that the concept of submission has taken root, and that the pink-haired girl has now become a being governed entirely by the hero. Reading this, our boy feels as if everything around him has turned into pure madness. Sometime later, Ruchel wakes up. She finds herself lying on a pillow with a shirt covering her, and as her memory returns, she quickly sits up. At that moment, she hears the hero nearby as he ties up the goblin. Overcome with worry, she rushes toward him with tears in her eyes, checking to see whether he has been hurt. To reassure her, Ban demonstrates that the elixir has worked, and explains that he made her drink the potion while she was unconscious, so her wounds could heal. Even so, she still feels guilty and believes she has once again become a burden to him. In response, the hero gently pats her head and asks her not to worry. He reminds her that he promised to do everything he could and apologizes for being late, admitting that he did not properly understand the signals she had been sending him. He believes that if he had realized sooner, the problem could have been solved more quickly. Hearing this, the girl takes his hand from her head and guides it to her cheek. With a soft smile and closed eyes, she expresses her gratitude for his help and for keeping his promise. She also thanks him for stopping her. However, she then refers to him as her master, which shocks Ban and makes him blush intensely. Because of this, he quickly tries to correct her, insisting that such a title is not appropriate. Nevertheless, the girl sees nothing wrong with calling him that. The hero becomes increasingly troubled by the situation. After all, they are classmates, and he cannot imagine how his family would react if they discovered that a girl his age was openly calling him her master. He is certain they would surely disown him. Unaware of his thoughts, Ruchel simply asks if he is all right. Flustered, the hero suggests that they talk later, yet he panics when she tries to get closer to him. Eventually, they calm down and sit beside each other, while the girl begins to tell her story. She explains that she was born a half-beast, but is different from others of her kind. Her ancestors were great beings, and her father once formed a contract with a constellation. Although he later regretted it, the constellation refuses to release the family, and instead passes down a curse through their bloodline. This curse causes her body to burn emotions in order to gain power, but at the same time it makes her lose control whenever those emotions grow too strong. Since childhood, whenever her feral instincts awaken, the curse consumes her emotions as fuel and spreads fury throughout her being. As she inherits her clan's legacy, very few people are able to stop her. Consequently, because others often get hurt due to her condition, she spent her life suppressing her instincts and hiding her feelings, which only made her more isolated. The hero finally understands why she always seems so passive. If any emotion fuels her power, she risks entering a berserk state. Curious, he wonders if that is why she joined the Union, perhaps to find the constellation that bound her family. However, she denies this and explains that neither she nor her father wishes to deal with constellations again. Instead, she reveals that she has been searching for a more efficient way to suppress the burning of emotions. After hesitating slightly, she explains that the method involves forming a bond of subordination between master and servant. Such a bond is an instinct engraved in the soul of beastmen, allowing them to become completely submissive to a chosen master whose commands take precedence over everything else. Through this explanation, she clarifies why Ban was able to control her berserk state. As long as he commands her not to lose control, the furnace within her will not burn her emotions again. Naturally, the hero then asks why she chose him out of everyone. The girl answers that the master's soul rank must be far superior to the servants'. Her own soul rank is already high due to the constellation's curse, which makes it nearly impossible for her to accept anyone weaker. When our boy reflects on his own power, he realizes that his soul depth surpasses hers by a large margin, meeting the necessary conditions perfectly. After a brief silence, she admits that from the moment she first saw him, she believed he could become her master. She has been thinking about it ever since they met and feels grateful that he made the decision in time. Hearing this, Ban lets out a slightly awkward laugh and remarks that such a decision carries a heavy responsibility. However, Ruchel refuses to let him brush the matter aside. She grabs his arm and makes it clear that she has always held herself back until now, but that is no longer necessary. From this point on, she believes she can smile freely, cry openly, and act with greater courage. Hearing this, Ban is taken aback as he sees her display a sincere smile filled with gratitude and affection. She credits him for giving her that freedom and insists that even if the responsibility feels heavy, he must accept it. The hero falls silent for a moment, clearly overwhelmed, yet he eventually agrees. Once she hears his answer, she stands up and suggests that they continue climbing the tower together. She expresses confidence in wanting to spend as much time with him as possible while testing how it feels to control the Simro furnace without fear. Before they set off, the hero realizes there is something he wants to give her. He extends his hand and forms the symbol of wild instinct, transferring the energy he has gathered so far. Although he admits it is not much, he still wants her to have it. Ruchel is astonished by the amount of energy being offered and asks if he is truly giving it to her. Ban smiles and confirms, taking her hand as he passes the power to her while thanking her in return. As the transfer happens, a small thread of light forms between their fingertips, linking them together. When the girl notices the mark left on her finger, she smiles happily and holds her hand with confidence. With renewed determination, she expresses that they should hurry and continue fighting because she no longer feels afraid. After she regains her strength, the two of them push forward through the tower using all their energy. Despite their efforts, they fail to progress very far and are ultimately defeated in the 19th room. Still, the pink-haired girl is frustrated that she couldn't spend more time with the hero. Once they leave the tower, Professor Yumina greets them and congratulates them on their hard work. She mentions that she tried to speak with the others who left earlier, but they rushed straight to the training room before she could question them. She wonders if something happened between the two of them. The hero assures her that there is no problem and asks how much she has heard. While sharing tea and snacks, she explains that she learned about the captured intruder and watched the footage, which shocked her deeply. She did not expect attacks to continue happening so frequently. Encounters with intruders often lead to casualties, and although everyone returned safely this time, she knows that may not always be the case. The hero then asks if she has any idea why they were targeted. After thinking carefully, she suggests that the attacker likely had qualifications as a climber, but was not affiliated with the academy. She suspects they were targeted because they have become promising rookies, making them potential threats that others want to eliminate early. She also explains that individuals connected to constellations naturally draw attention from other constellations. In their case, refusing contracts shows both strong will and great potential, which makes them stand out even more. As a result, many constellations are watching them closely. When the professor learns about the recording Ban made, she asks whether the attackers might belong to Exodus. She warns that the constellations backing Exodus are known for their violent tendencies and advises them not to make any contracts with such forces. Our boy reflects on the methods used by the invaders and realizes that they relied on simple tricks that could have caused immense harm if unnoticed. He understands that they survived only because of their unusually high stats and becomes troubled by the thought of how many others might have fallen victim to Exodus. Anger begins to rise within him as he considers the suffering Ruchel endured and the possibility that constellations are behind it. In that moment, he silently vows not to forgive either Exodus or the constellations supporting them. Seeing his expression darken, Professor Yumina grows worried and comments on how frightening he looks. Realizing he has let his emotions show too clearly, the hero apologizes. Nevertheless, the professor admits she shares his concern and feels frustrated that she cannot protect her students more effectively as their supervisor. The hero reassures her that no one can fully control what happens inside the tower. He then changes the topic and asks what to do with the edited tower video. Without hesitation, she tells him to upload it online, believing that exposing the failed attack will embarrass their enemies and prevent them from acting for a while. After sharing a brief smile at her bold suggestion, the hero stands to leave, feeling that everything important has been discussed. Before departing, he remarks that nothing good seems to come from involvement with constellations and admits he is already tired of the trouble they bring. For that reason, he doubts he will form any contracts with them. Yumina agrees that caution is wise but still suggests that not all constellations are harmful as some genuinely care for their contractors. She quickly grows flustered and changes the subject, offering one last suggestion before he goes. Meanwhile, in the training room, we see the emo girl punishing Light for what he did inside the tower. Our boy tries to step in and comments that pushing him harder won't do anything. They still need to discuss what happened, so he suggests they go outside. Hearing this, the blonde guy turns to the hero in tears and asks if his actions were that bad. Ban confirms it by holding his cheeks and mentions that they could have reached floor 20 if he didn't screw up. His friend tries to downplay his actions by calling them a small mistake, but this only angers Dako further. She clenches her fists and nearly attacks him again, forcing him to hide behind the hero for protection. Eventually, he admits his fault and apologizes sincerely, confessing that he had been too confident. Seeing his genuine remorse, Ban asks the emo girl to ease up on him. She reluctantly agrees, though she demands compensation for letting the matter go. Remembering a promise he made in the tower, she hints that she expects a reward of her choosing. The hero accepts, promising to let her choose whatever she wants. Later, in the City of Flowers, the group gathers in a clothing store. The emo girl holds up a loose black dress and asks the hero for his opinion. Meanwhile, Ruchel watches the interaction with sharp, predatory eyes and feels irritated by the way she treats her master so casually. Despite her usual stoic demeanor, Dako finds herself smiling without realizing it. It has been a long time since she shopped freely like this, and the experience makes her unexpectedly happy. However, the pink-haired girl continues to glare at her from a distance and eventually mutters an insult loud enough for her to hear. This sparks an argument between the two, leaving Ban confused about how things escalated so quickly. Not long afterward, the pink-haired girl offers him a piece of candy and tries to feed it to him. Seeing this, the emo girl becomes visibly irritated and asks whether Ruchel's berserk problem has finally been resolved. Ban confirms that the issue is under control, and the girl happily clings to his arm, praising him for taking care of everything. Although Dako remains annoyed by their closeness, she considers it a victory that the beast is now under control. As usual, they start bullying the blonde guy who admits that he is the only remaining problem in their group. While arguing, the emo girl brings attention to his sword and asks him to reflect on what happened during the previous battle. The blonde guy admits that his behavior was not normal and sighs heavily, saying he will try to fight without using the sacred sword if possible. This statement worries both of his friends as they wonder when he is going to open up about his problems. While they sit there, Ban suddenly receives a telepathic message from the emo girl. She urges him not to remain passive and reminds him that he shares a room with Light, implying that he should flirt with him like he does with the beast. Her blunt suggestion nearly makes him choke on his drink. Unaware of the mental exchange, the pink-haired girl immediately checks on him in concern. Meanwhile, Dako continues sending telepathic remarks, insisting that if he keeps avoiding the issue, Light will remain stubborn and closed off. Our boy eventually responds mentally, insisting that he simply wanted to get along with the girl and that her assumptions are misguided. Still, she reminds him that he wanted to support both of them and that he must take responsibility instead of sitting idly by. Ban assures her that he is already planning to act. Shifting the topic, he opens an information window and informs the group about special external activities scheduled for the following week. He sends them the details and explains that these activities involve large-scale trips to other dimensions where students and teachers travel together. Unfamiliar with such events, the emo girl asks if the Union always conducts public service like this. As Light reads the information, he becomes irritated and questions the way higher dimensions treat lower ones as if they cannot survive on their own. Our boy agrees with his concerns, while the girl adds that if he wants to become a leader across dimensions, he needs a broader perspective rather than excessive resentment. The blonde guy remains frustrated, viewing these activities as preliminary training for those who aspire to become deities. Our boy stays silent, but senses that something painful must have happened on Light's homeworld to cause such strong resentment. Putting that aside, he announces another piece of news. Starting that week, he will attend Professor Yumina's magical combat classes and focus on training. The others react with surprise and demand to know why he did not mention this earlier. A few days later, he sits alone in the training room with a magic wand in his hand. He urges the wand to cooperate and reveal the concept of magical language, but it remains silent. Growing impatient and pressed for time, the hero threatens it with a dark smile. After 3 days without progress, he feels he cannot afford to fail in Professor Yumina's class. In frustration, he throws the wand to the ground and picks up a hammer, considering the drastic option of destroying the artifact and absorbing its concept directly if it refuses to cooperate. Just before the hammer strikes, the wand suddenly shouts for him to stop. It finally reveals that it can speak and angrily protests the way the hero has treated it. The wand complains that he forced his way into its inner structure without permission, and then expects it to obey. Confused, Ban picks the wand back up and asks what it means by him entering inside it. He suspects it refers to his ability to analyze and break down concepts. The wand continues to rant, condemning his barbaric power and insisting that magic should be approached through refined and elegant laws rather than force. Irritated by the shouting, our boy covers his ears and orders it to quiet down. He flips the wand upside down and demands that it stop complaining and hand over the concept it holds. Realizing it has no choice, the wand reluctantly gives in. It shakes and releases a small sphere of light covered in symbols. When the hero absorbs the sphere, a notification appears showing that he has gained a large amount of magical language units, and that his sensory and linguistic abilities related to magic have increased significantly. More notifications follow, indicating additional gains in elemental magic and soul depth. Ban's eyes widen in surprise at how deep the concept is. Soon after, he learns that he can now fully convert magical language into structured symbols and artificially generate and control elemental attributes such as fire, water, wind, and earth. Testing his new understanding, he forms a magic circle in his hand using all 5 elements at once. For the first time, he can clearly grasp the structure of magical language, something that had previously been beyond him. With this progress, he feels confident that he can now attend Professor Yumina's classes without embarrassment. As he examines the wand again, he realizes it is far more remarkable than he initially thought. The wand begins trembling under his gaze, clearly unsettled by his interest. It expresses confusion and despair about why it has been reduced to such a state. Before it can continue, the hero tries to stop it, saying that he has heard that story 1,000,000 times. However, in the next moment, the wand shouts that it used to be human. Listening to its story, our boy feels like it's a script of some low-quality novel. The wand yells that it's not fake and explains that people it once trusted betrayed it, sealed it inside the wand, and implanted false memories to weaken it. According to the wand, Ban's absorption of its power has partially broken the spell that suppressed its memories, allowing fragments of its past to return. The hero listens with skepticism, questioning whether its memories and strength have truly been restored. The wand admits that it is still far from its original power after being sealed for so long. Although our boy does not fully believe everything it says, he recognizes that its stats were already unusually high when they first found it. As he reflects on this, a surge of dark energy begins to gather around the wand without him noticing. Suddenly, it erupts with a fierce aura and swears to take revenge on those who betrayed it. Startled by its intensity, he drops the wand as it rises into the air, glowing with power. Before his eyes, the wand begins to transform. Its shape changes and reforms into a powerful staff resembling a spear crowned with a radiant sun. The completed transformation shocks Ban. When he grabs the staff again, he hears it repeatedly curse those who sealed it, as if vengeance has become its sole purpose. Its new name appears as Tears of Selen, and its mana and soul attributes have increased dramatically. Though it vents its anger for a while, it eventually admits that it still cannot remember the identities of those who trapped it. The fragments of memory it recovered seem to be the limit for now. Ban notes that the staff still has room to grow and wonders aloud whether it is truly at a beginner level. The staff reacts angrily to being called a beginner and insists that it is far more capable than that. Realizing its personality has changed along with its memories, the hero addresses it by the name Selen. The staff acknowledges that this is indeed the name associated with it and listens as our boy proposes a deal. He promises that if it helps him properly, he will also help it regain its power, recover its memories, and achieve its goal of revenge. The staff falls silent, considering the offer. The next day, before magical combat class begins, Ban meets with his group. Rukul immediately clings to his arm and asks to accompany him, believing that simply staying by his side will be enough. At the same time, Light grabs his other arm and expresses doubt about giving up his sacred sword, wondering if abandoning it is really the right choice. Our boy quickly pushes both of them away and refuses their requests. Watching from behind, the emo girl smiles mischievously and decides to intervene. She grabs them by their collars and drags them away, thinking that some distance might help them regain their balance. Left alone at last, the hero relaxes on a sofa in peace. He then opens a status window and studies the structure of the teleportation card embedded in the necklace given to students. The binary codes within it represent concepts related to spatial movement. To use it properly, he realizes he must isolate the variable element within the code and learn how to manipulate them. With his current understanding and Selen's power working together, the system of coordinate generation now makes perfect sense to him. As a result, spells that once seemed impossible to grasp become easy for him to break apart and rebuild. After configuring the teleport device's information, he inserts a few memorized coordinates and adds an activation point. Soon, a magic circle forms around him, and he is impressed by the result. In the next instant, he vanishes and teleports away. Moments later, Ban reappears in another location, unintentionally startling a young witch who has been resting nearby. She watches him celebrate his success, and her curiosity quickly pushes her to question what she has just witnessed. Hearing her voice, the hero turns around and sees a blue-haired girl wearing a pointed hat with a buckle. She stands up and studies him carefully, wondering if he has just used teleportation. He confirms that he has used the function connected to the students' IDs. However, the girl seems to sense that there is more to the story and presses further, suspecting that he has altered the coordinates. The girl continues questioning him, eager to know how he managed to do it. He shyly explains that he simply used mana, but this answer only makes her more curious. She realizes that he must have deciphered the complex code within the student identification system, and grabs his shirt while demanding to know how he changed only the spatial coordinates. Ban becomes nervous and wonders why he is suddenly being questioned so intensely. Before the situation can escalate further, Professor Yumina suddenly appears behind him, startling him. He turns around and sees the teacher standing there calmly. She comments that he has found the classroom quite well, even though she forgot to tell him its location earlier. The professor notices the girl and greets her warmly, calling her Ira and suggesting they begin together. The girl bows in response and agrees. Standing beside the professor, the hero silently thanks her for stepping in. He admits that this is the first time since meeting Dako that someone has been so aggressive toward him. The professor smiles lightly and remarks that she prefers to avoid situations that might complicate things further. With that, she prepares to start the class. Soon, they gather on a plateau in the sky within a covered arena, where the professor introduces Ban as a new student joining from Class 11. Despite the warm welcome on the surface, many students feel jealous because he has been speaking so casually with their beloved teacher. As the hero looks around, he notices that there are only 9 students in total, suggesting that only a few possess both magical skill and strong innate abilities. While observing the group, he spots the girl from before sitting alone. At first, he wonders if she is on bad terms with the others, but he quickly realizes that the truth is different. Her mana radiates intensely, creating a huge wall between her and the other students. Remembering that the emo girl once mentioned someone possibly stronger than Orduma, he wonders if Era might be that person. Just as the professor is about to begin the lesson, a short-haired blonde girl named Misty raises her hand and asks why the hero has not attended class before if he can use magic. Professor Yumina honestly explains that Ban recently obtained an artifact during an exploration, and that the artifact chose him as its owner, awakening his magical talent. This revelation shocks everyone. Taking advantage of their surprise, the professor casually promotes a recent exploration video featuring herself, prompting several students to subscribe immediately. The hero finds himself speechless at the unexpected promotion. Still, many students remain confused about how an artifact can awaken magical talent. The professor calmly explains that while such cases are rare, hidden talents can sometimes awaken in unusual ways. After hearing this, Misty asks if the hero can demonstrate his magic without using the artifact. Although the professor initially tries to shield him, the hero assures her that he has no problem with the request. He admits that he has only started learning recently and cannot perform anything complex. Our boy then walks to the center of the arena and decides to use basic elemental magic. First, he summons wind and shapes it into a spinning tornado. Then, to everyone's shock, he adds fire to the mix, creating a blazing vortex that rises in the arena. Several students step back in fear as the flames grow stronger under his control. Many are stunned by the fact that he casted without any incantation. Ira, however, watches silently and thoughtfully. After the demonstration, the professor asks him to stop. He claps his hands, and the flames and wind disappear instantly. Professor Yumina praises his performance, noting how impressive it is for someone who has only just begun learning magic. The class falls silent, and as the hero returns to his seat, he hears some students muttering in frustration, realizing that this is what a special admission talent looks like. Some jealous students even try to dismiss it as dumb elemental magic. Hearing all of this, the hero turns towards the blue-haired girl, hoping to see some kind of reaction, but she remains completely expressionless. Eventually, he sighs when she turns her gaze away with clear disinterest, finding the display unimpressive and not worth her attention. With the introductions finished, the professor tells everyone to prepare for the lesson. Later, as the lesson ends and the hero prepares to leave, someone suddenly grabs his shirt. Turning to the side, he realizes that Era has stopped him. She has not forgotten their earlier conversation and begins questioning him again, determined to get answers. Some nearby students notice the interaction and grow curious, watching quietly. Ban tries to step away, believing he has already explained himself, but she once again asks whether he truly analyzed and interfered with the entire code designed by the headmaster. Confused, our boy wonders aloud if that task is really so difficult. However, the girl continues pressing him, insisting that even with authorization, editing teleport coordinates should not be easy. As the two stand there talking, the professor approaches them and calls out to the girl, calmly explaining that she requires Ban for a scheduled counseling session. She then adds that the hero never received official permission to modify anything, since such permissions are usually granted only to full professors. Hearing this, the girl realizes that he accomplished the feat entirely on his own. Before she can say anything, the professor simply tells her that they'll meet tomorrow and walks away with the hero. Soon after, the professor questions him about editing his student ID. The hero becomes nervous and asks whether what he did is forbidden. Fortunately for him, she reassures him that it is not. She explains that student IDs are fragments of the tower's power enhanced by the headmaster to be easier to handle. However, she advises him not to damage the device. Relieved, the hero lets out a quiet sigh. The professor then adds that modifying an identifier while still being a student is generally considered impossible. Hearing this, Ban finally understands why that girl questioned him so intensely. Realizing how unusual his actions are, he holds his head in disbelief. While he worries, the professor suddenly laughs. Surprised by her reaction, he asks if she is pleased by what he did. She admits that from the beginning she believed his abilities would suit magic well, and now that his talent has awakened, he has already proven her expectations correct. As they continue walking, the hero anxiously asks whether their meeting is related to his modifications. She reassures him that it is not, and explains that the headmaster wishes to see him. Hearing this, our boy is startled, as he thought he would only be speaking with her. Before he can ask more, the professor places her hand on his chest and wishes him well. Instantly, a vortex of energy forms beneath his feet and pulls him into another space. He experiences the same strange sensation as before, as though he is falling through empty space without control. Eventually, he emerges in a peculiar room with no visible walls or doors, only a floor, a desk, and a chair. After landing awkwardly, he stands up and hears an elderly voice welcoming him. Looking ahead, he sees what appears to be a doll-like butler, likely used by the headmaster to communicate. The headmaster greets him indirectly and comments that he seems to have grown closer to Professor Yumina. He even warns the hero to be cautious about drawing attention from her admirers. Ban sits down and wonders if he should hide these meetings more carefully, but the headmaster assures him that secrecy is only necessary if he speaks openly about them. Soon, the conversation shifts to a more serious topic. The headmaster explains that while the first year focuses on general studies, the second year requires students to choose a specialization. He asks the hero what he intends to do. Caught off guard, our boy realizes he has not considered this yet. Reflecting on everything that has happened since enrolling, he recognizes how much he has grown. After thinking carefully, he decides that he wants to remain with his current classmates from Class 11 as much as possible. The headmaster reminds him that the academy holds many extraordinary talents and teachers who could help him develop further, yet the hero still chooses to stay with his current group. He explains that he understands his own abilities best and believes continuing alongside his classmates will help him grow. He also believes that regardless of his specialization, Professor Yumina will continue guiding him. Hearing this, the headmaster questions whether he intends to place a burden on her, leaving the hero momentarily confused. He clarifies that he simply wants to meet her expectations. The headmaster acknowledges this, but warns that her expectations may be high, but her actions are not always centered solely on student success. When Ban fails to grasp the meaning, the headmaster decides to wait and observe. He then shifts the topic to an upcoming special activity, hinting that a powerful family has influenced its location. The hero listens with confusion but pays attention, as the headmaster reveals that the Orduma family has become involved, leaving him wondering what role this powerful group will play. The headmaster explains that powerful patrons support the academy, and if they are not given some room to act, it could easily lead to conflict or even rebellion. However, the hero cannot accept the idea that outsiders might interfere with the tower or its students. The headmaster calmly clarifies that while he protects everything that happens inside the academy, he has no authority over activities that take place beyond its grounds. Hearing this, Ban grows increasingly irritated. He tries to summarize the situation, suspecting that Orduma may be planning something through the upcoming special activity, and wonders if the headmaster is warning them indirectly. The headmaster, however, denies betraying anyone and insists that he is merely sharing rumors rather than confirmed information. Even so, the hero finds little comfort in this distinction, as the implications still feel serious. He does not understand why the headmaster brought up these matters, or why the Orduma family suddenly became involved. Since he knows almost nothing about the special activity, he starts to worry that it may begin under dangerous circumstances. Realizing he must prepare, he asks the headmaster for more details about what might happen. The headmaster refuses to elaborate further, claiming that even revealing this much already exceeds what he should say. He explains that his warning comes only from his expectations for the hero, and that he will not interfere beyond this point. Although Ban's expression darkens with frustration, he can do nothing but thank him. With the conversation seemingly over, our boy prepares to leave and excuses himself by saying he has something important to do. Before he goes, the doll used by the headmaster reminds him that none of this information can be shared. The hero agrees and promises not to repeat anything directly, though he asks whether it is acceptable to discuss potential danger in a vague way. The headmaster seems satisfied with this indirect approach. Just as he expects to be sent away, the headmaster reveals that he has one more thing to give him. A light appears, surrounding the doll as the headmaster explains that he has been watching Ban's progress closely over the past 2 weeks. He praises his steady growth and the way he has proven himself step by step. Because of this, the headmaster decides to offer him a small gift. Soon, a strange energy manifests, forming a zipper-like opening in space. From it emerges a massive eye made of spatial energy. The hero recognizes it as the same eye from the entrance ceremony. Through this eye, the headmaster channels his power and delivers a blessing that engraves the concept of solidity directly into the hero's body. Energy floods through our boy, and notifications appear as his physical and conceptual strength increases. The depth of his solidity rises, and his body undergoes a transformation influenced by a powerful will. His divine manifestation ability experiences a surge of acceleration, purifying negative elements within him and generating an overflow of positive life energy. As the process continues, his power evolves even further, strengthening multiple aspects of his being. Once the transformation ends, the headmaster remarks in surprise that the results exceed his expectations. He originally intended only to help the hero resist a certain oppressive power more easily, but instead he gained far more than intended. Confused, our boy asks what power he is meant to resist. The headmaster explains that it is Ortama's ability to impose will upon the world. Although he is still young and his power remains structurally incomplete, most people cannot resist it at all. The hero is surprised to learn that he now has some resistance to this influence. He realizes that this improvement is partly due to the ability transmitted to him by a friend. The headmaster understands and advises him to be grateful, hinting that the friend paid a significant price to help him. With that, the meeting ends, and the headmaster sends him back to the academy. The next morning arrives, marking the day of the special activity. Ban gathers his friends and checks that everyone has everything they need, almost like a cautious parent preparing children for a trip. His friends tease him for worrying too much, assuring him that they will be fine. Still, he insists that with the kind of students in their year, a little caution is necessary. Dako also warns everyone not to act recklessly if things become dangerous. Despite the warnings, Ruchel remains calm, trusting Ban's leadership, while Light promises to stay alert as if on a battlefield. As the four of them walk through the academy courtyard together, many students watch them. Their group, known as Rebellion, has already gained a reputation, but for many observers, this is the first time seeing them in person. Naturally, their presence draws a great deal of attention as they head toward the special activity. As the group walks across the courtyard, they notice that many students are watching them with excitement. Sensing the growing attention and expectations around them, the emo girl approaches the hero and remarks that starting their channel truly turns out to be a smart decision. Ban agrees without hesitation, and the rest of the group shares the same opinion. While heading toward the main hall, they reflect on how much things have changed since they first enrolled. Ban remembers how hostile the academy once felt. Instead of hostility, they now receive admiration and goodwill from many students. Dako believes that most of the regular students support them strongly, even if the special classes still keep their distance. As they continue talking, Professor Yumina appears and waves to them warmly. She checks whether they have eaten properly and prepared everything they need. The group confirms that they are ready. Satisfied, she moves on to something unexpected. Since this is a rare outing beyond their usual routine, she suggests that they dress up a little more. With a snap of her fingers, a magic circle forms, and in the next instant, flowers appear in each of their hair, matching the one already placed in her own. However, the flowers are not merely decorative. The professor explains that the roses will protect them wherever they go. Although the item is meant to be helpful, the group reacts differently. Our boy tries to politely suggest that the flowers might be a bit too conspicuous for their class. When the emo girl tries to remove the flower, the professor immediately warns them not to do so. Her expression turns serious as she explains that the item is a protective charm created specifically for this activity. Hearing this, the hero quickly accepts it. Still, Dako feels embarrassed wearing the flowers, but the professor reveals that she designed the charm so it can change form. With another snap of her fingers, the flowers transform. The rose becomes a simple hair tie that gathers her white hair into a ponytail. For Ruchel, it changes into a different accessory, while for Ban and Light, it turns into small earrings. Although the transformation helps, Dako still feels frustrated and comments that she should have done this from the start. Soon after, Vice President Xenon steps onto the stage and announces that everyone has gathered. The hero and his friends move to their seats and listen as the Vice President begins the briefing. The special activity is about to start, and first-year students are instructed to board the dimensional ship in order. Hearing this, the blonde guy becomes curious, recalling that ships like these usually depart from special ports. Professor Yumina clarifies that while smaller ships operate that way, the one they will use today is a massive vessel docked right beside the auditorium. When they look outside, they see an enormous ship covering much of the outer campus. Apparently, the headmaster and Professor Zenon have summoned it using their control authority. Ruchel expresses her amazement at the sight, and even Ban finds himself impressed by its scale. After taking it all in, he turns to his teammates and signals that it is time for Class 11 to begin the special activity together.